Kenichi Yamada is a 35 years old gooner who has dedicated his life to an online game like a typical Discord mod, investing time and effort into mastering it. One day, he discovers a mysterious fantasy game that claims it will never end. As he prepares to start, he sees the available difficulty settings that are easy, normal, and extra. But beneath those options lies a hidden mode called Hell. The description clearly warns that leveling up in Hell mode requires 100 times more experience than normal mode. This is exactly what he has been searching for, so without hesitation, he selects Hell mode. Next, he must choose a class from several powerful options. He likes the Summoner option, so when he finally presses the Start button, something unexpected happens because rather than simply loading a game screen, he is suddenly pulled forward as if falling into his computer. Darkness surrounds him, but when he regains consciousness, he realizes that he is no longer sitting at his desk. He has been reincarnated into the world of the game itself as he is reborn as a baby. His new name is Alan, and he was born into a very poor family, but with a hot mom. They are living in a small frontier village, and it lies near dangerous lands where monsters roam. Alan's father, Rodin, is a hard-working farmer who occasionally joins other villagers in hunting monsters during the colder months. Meanwhile, his batty mother, Derja, is gentle and caring. At this point, Alan is their only child, and though he is physically a 1-year-old infant, his mind remains that of his previous 35-year-old self. He cannot speak clearly yet, but he understands everything around him and can think logically. Alan reflects on his former life, where he remembers being poor, uneducated, and alone. He does not feel deep regret about leaving it behind because he believes he had little worth holding on to. Now, in this new world, he has another chance, but more importantly, this is the challenging game he always wanted. One night, after his parents put him to bed, Alan attempts to access his status screen, just like in a video game. At first, nothing happens, but he repeatedly tries, growing frustrated. If this truly is the game world, then he should have access to his abilities. So after many attempts, a magical book suddenly appears before him. It floats in the air, radiating faint light, and it is called his grimoire. Startled by its sudden appearance, he accidentally makes noise and quickly hides it before his parents enter the room, pretending to be asleep. He waits until they leave. Once alone again, he carefully brings the book back out and opens it. Inside, he sees confirmation that he is a level 1 summoner, as the grimoire explains that he can create summon cards and use them to call creatures into existence. The more he uses his skills, the more experience they gain. However, because he selected Hell mode, leveling up will be extremely slow. At first, he can only summon low-ranking creatures such as insects and small beasts. Their rank is the lowest possible, but they are a starting point. He also receives a message from a being named Elmia, the creator of this world. The creator apologizes for the delay in granting him the grimoire, explaining that the summoner class had been incomplete at the time he selected it. Now that it is fully complete, he can proceed normally. Alan begins experimenting, and since there is no tutorial, he must figure out everything through trial and error. He learns that before summoning, he must first create a card representing the creature. After struggling to understand the process, he finally manages to create an insect card. When he successfully summons his first creature, a big-ass grasshopper appears in a flash of light. It does not immediately obey him, and instead hops around randomly. Through the grimoire, Alan learns that he can name his summons, so he names the grasshopper Denka. Upon doing so, he gains small stat boosts, including increased endurance and agility. However, his mother soon discovers the strange creature and kills it in fear as Alan realizes that summoning openly is risky, so he must be careful not to reveal his powers. He continues practicing in secret, and eventually, he creates and summons a mouse-type beast with a speed-based ability. Through experimentation, he discovers that when he commands his summons to activate their skills, they obey him. He also learns about card stacking, meaning he can hold up to 10 cards of the same creature type, and stacking them increases his own stats significantly. By stacking mouse cards, he enhances his physical abilities far beyond what a small child should possess. He surprises his parents by chopping wood more effectively than expected for his age. Even so, his overall level remains low because of Hell mode's severe experience requirements. As seasons change, Alan's father participates in a hunt and defeats a massive great boar, which is a C-rank monster. When Alan sees the enormous creature, he understands how dangerous this world truly is. It takes around 20 villagers to defeat such a monster, and compared to that, he is still incredibly weak. Time then passes as Alan's summoning and creation skills finally reach level 2. He unlocks a fusion ability that allows him to combine creatures into new forms. His inventory space doubles, enabling even more card stacking and stat boosts. Through fusion, he creates a bird-type creature with the ability to mimic voices perfectly. He names it Chappie, as this ability opens strategic possibilities, such as confusing enemies or creating distractions. He also develops other summons with useful abilities, like digging holes for traps. Later on, he meets a girl named Krina, who he often spars with, and Krina is the daughter of a villager named Gerda. Despite being the same age, Krina is naturally talented and physically strong. She consistently defeats Alan in sword practice, as this humbles him and reminds him that stats alone do not guarantee victory. Meanwhile, his mother gets knocked up again because his dad can't keep it in his pants, but it's valid. During winter, an accident involving one of Alan's summons leads to her going into labor, and after a tense night, she safely gives birth to a baby boy named Mash. The family celebrates the new addition with warmth and joy. Watching his family together fills Alan with a sense of purpose, because in his previous life, he had no Riz and no family. Now, he has parents who love him and a younger brother who will grow up beside him. For the first time, his desire to grow stronger is not just about conquering a game. It is about protecting the people who matter to him. Alan silently resolves to master his abilities, maximize his stats, and eventually rise high enough to change his family's fate. The episode begins with Alan finally turning 5 years old and heading toward the long-awaited appraisal ceremony. His father explains that this ceremony is a major event in the region, where children from every background, whether they are poor commoners or nobles, gather to discover whether they possess any special talent or attribute. On the way, Alan's father, Rodden, explains how important this day is. Every child who turns 5 participates, and if someone awakens a powerful talent, it can completely change their family's future. For families like theirs, who struggle with poverty, this ceremony is very hopeful. However, Rodden also reminds Alan that there will be many other children his age attending, since many were born around the same time after families settled in this land. As they approach the venue, they meet their close friends Gerda and his daughter Krina, who is also 5 and ready for her own appraisal. The group walks together toward the village center, where the ceremony will take place inside a church. On the way, Krina becomes excited upon seeing rows of proper houses. Alan also notices that the buildings look far better than what he is used to. He assumes this must be the commoners' area of the settlement because this site feels new to him. When they reach the church grounds, Alan is surprised to see a large crowd already gathered. Many of the people are dressed in much better clothing than what he has ever seen before. Some attendees whisper in surprise that even serfs have come to participate. Soon, 3 church officials step outside and start yapping as they explain that Elmia, the god of creation, has blessed all people equally with opportunity. History has shown that even those born as serfs or commoners have risen to become great heroes. They mention examples such as a saint who was once a commoner and a legendary sword lord who had been born a serf. Hearing this, many villagers are shocked, and Alan reflects on how, when he first started this game-like world, he had seen hero and sword lord classes as selectable options. He had not expected that those same classes would exist within the reality of this world. Inside the church, a statue of Elmia stands at the center, and Alan recognizes the name. In his previous life, Elmia was described as the creator of the game. The thought reminds him of a strange apology letter he once received at the start of his journey. But the ceremony then officially begins. The first child called forward is Palomas, the son of the village chief, Debuji. The process is simple, as the child places a hand on a crystal ball, and any talent or attributes they possess will appear on a metal plate nearby. Palomas nervously places his hand on the crystal as his status appears, and the church officials announce that he has the talent of a merchant. Alan realizes that even a non-combat talent is celebrated, but it seems that having any talent at all is considered a blessing. Curious, Alan checks his own grimoire and reads that during the appraisal ceremony, attributes are displayed in ranks rather than numerical values. Meanwhile, another child is tested, but is found to have no talent. The boy breaks down in tears, showing that not everyone is blessed. Then another child named Dogora is appraised and revealed to be an axe user. His attack rank is listed as a, which amazes Alan. It is the first time he has seen such a high-ranked attribute. One by one, children step forward, as some are fortunate, others are not. Eventually, it is Krina's turn, and the moment she places her hand on the crystal, it shines far brighter than before. The church officials are visibly stunned as they declare that Krina possesses the rare and powerful sword lord talent. considered one of the strongest classes. The crowd is shocked that a girl from a poor family could awaken such a prestigious talent as Gerda beams with pride. However, Krina herself seems slightly disappointed, as she had originally hoped to become a swordswoman and eventually a. Now, finally, it is Alan's turn. He places his hand on the crystal. At first, it glows faintly and then goes dark, confusing him. Suddenly, it erupts in blinding light, even brighter than when Krina was tested. The force of the light knocks Alan backward, and for a moment, everyone believes something extraordinary has happened. But when the church officials read the result, they announce that Alan has no talent, and the crowd goes silent. Alan checks his grimoire and sees that all his attributes are ranked E, the lowest possible rank. His talent appears strangely written, almost as if it is a glitch. He begins to suspect that something is wrong with the system itself. As someone playing in Hell mode, he theorizes that his progress and growth are purposely restricted. Perhaps his ranks reflect potential growth differently than others. He reasons that since everyone present is level 1, the rank system must indicate future growth rather than current power. Being the only one in Hell mode likely means he must work far harder than anyone else to achieve results. Rodden then assumes Alan must be devastated, but instead of scolding or pitying him, he embraces his son and calmly suggests they return home. Back at their modest house, Alan's family reassures him as he tells them that talent does not define worth and that they will always be proud of him. Alan feels warmth and gratitude toward his family, realizing that even without wealth, he is fortunate to have their love. The next day, it is revealed that Rodden had attended Krina's celebration the previous night, where her family was honoring her new status. There, tension arises as Rodden starts beefing with Gerda. He suggests that if Krina becomes a noble through her talent, their friendship may not last. Gerda reacts angrily, insisting that friendship has nothing to do with status. So the argument escalates until their wives physically intervene to calm them down. It is then revealed that Rodden, Gerda, and their wives have been childhood friends who moved to this new village together. They built their homes side by side and share a deep bond that predates current circumstances. Remembering their shared past ends the beef. Soon after, news spreads that the Knights of Order are coming to the village to meet Krina. This is a major event, and everyone gathers. Dagora mocks Alan for being talentless, but Krina defends him fiercely. The arrival of the Knights, led by Captain Zenoff, brings even greater attention. Zenoff announces that they must test Krina in combat to verify the power of her Sword Lord talent. In recent years, some nobles had falsified appraisal results, forcing the kingdom to adopt stricter confirmation methods. Gerda hesitates, fearing for his daughter's safety, but Zenoff insists the alternative would be severe punishment, including oiling them up. If the talent were proven false, Krina agrees to fight and is handed a real sword for the first time. She faces the vice captain in combat, and at first, she attacks boldly, displaying remarkable skill for her age. The vice captain blocks her strikes with difficulty, but eventually, he resorts to a kick, yeeting her away as she crashes into a wall. Many believe she is lost, but Krina rises again, surrounded by a green aura. Her speed and power increase dramatically as she overwhelms the vice captain and ultimately shatters his sword, so the fight is stopped, and her Sword Lord talent is confirmed. Zenoff apologizes for the harsh test and praises Krina's potential. He announces that when the village is fully developed, it will be renamed as Krina Village in her honor. He explains that the kingdom takes Sword Lords seriously, especially after a previous noble child falsely claimed the title. Krina is advised to train very hard and enroll in the academy at age 12, where she may eventually serve the royal family. Dagora expresses his desire to become a knight as well, since he has an axe user talent. Zenoff replies that instructors may be sent to the village to help promising children prepare for academy entrance exams. During this gathering, Zenoff recognizes Rodden as the famous boar hunter who supplies high-quality meat to a local lord. He praises Rodden's bravery and reputation. Alan feels proud upon learning that his father is respected beyond the village. Later on, Alan and Rodden walk home together as Rodden expresses hope that continued hard work might one day lift them out of poverty. Alan secretly carries fruit he took from the feast to share with his mother and younger sibling. Rodden admits he did the same. The two share a laugh, revealing their strong bond. Then, a few years have passed by, and Alan is also a little grown up too. After a while, he learns that his summon skill has finally leveled up. And this is a major moment for him because his entire strength depends on this unique ability. Along with the level up, Alan unlocks a new skill called Enhance, which really excites him because it opens up new possibilities for him. Until now, he could only summon creatures from cards, but now he begins to wonder if he can make those summons stronger. He also notices that he has gained access to more F-rank creatures, but instead of being fully satisfied, he thinks about fusing them together to create something entirely new. His inventory space has also increased from 20 to 30 slots, which allows him to store more cards, and on top of that, he receives an additional buff, making his potential growth even greater. He then decides to return home for the night, where he sits in with his heartwarming family to eat dinner. His mother, Verja, is knocked up again and needs proper rest. So when Alan notices her condition, he offers to take care of chores such as washing dishes. His younger brother, who is named Mash, curiously wonders whether the new baby will be a boy or a girl. Verja believes it will be a girl, and Rodden, Alan's father, begins thinking about possible names. However, it is already decided that if the child is a girl, Verja will choose the name. During this quiet family moment, Alan notices that his Gar has fully recovered, meaning he can summon again. At the same time, he receives a message from the game's developer, Elmia. When he casually mentions that name, his parents start tripping balls because in this world, Elmia is considered a divine being. They quickly remind him not to speak so lightly about such a name, so Alan brushes it off, trying to avoid suspicion about his knowledge of this game. He then notices an old wound on Rodden's arm healing faster than expected, so Rodden explains that earlier during a boar hunt, he experienced something very unique. In the middle of battle, he suddenly felt overwhelming energy that erased his fatigue and pain. Alan thinks that is something similar to leveling up, so he becomes even more convinced that this world operates like a game, where hidden mechanics reward strength and courage. However, he checks his grimoire and understands the harsh reality, which is that despite all his preparations, he is still only level 1 because without killing monsters himself, he cannot gain experience or level up. When Alan expresses interest in joining hunts, Rodden firmly refuses because hunting is dangerous, and people lose their lives doing it. This refusal leaves Alan frustrated because without combat, he cannot grow stronger. Later in his room, Alan reads the message from Elmia. The developer apologizes for earlier glitches during his appraisal ceremony and explains that the reason his rank appears as E rank is because he is playing on Hell mode, where leveling up is extremely slow. The message also includes raw data of his stats, and to his surprise, his mana points and intelligence are ranked S tier. He feels proud of the hard work he put into building these stats. With renewed motivation, Alan begins experimenting as he summons Denka, the grasshopper creature, and applies different boosts to it, increasing endurance and agility. Interestingly, those same stat boosts temporarily reflect onto him as well, though the buff effect itself remains with the creature. When he summons Denka physically, it glows, confirming that the enhanced skill works. Verja suddenly walks in and sees the summoned creature, so she starts tripping balls and accidentally crushes Denka under her foot. Although the moment is brief, it highlights the danger of revealing his abilities. The next day, Rodden leaves again for hunting while Alan continues experimenting. He discovers that enhancements placed on cards remain active permanently, so this realization changes his strategy. Instead of saving mana, he decides to empower all his summons over time. He continues testing card fusions but struggles to create a new creature type. After numerous combinations, he finally succeeds in producing a new card called Grass. At first, he feels disappointed because it sounds unimpressive. However, upon examining the stats, he realizes this creature provides a mana-related buff, so this is incredibly valuable. He then summons the creature, which looks like a small apple-shaped being. He names it Apo, and its special ability is called Aroma. But when he activates Aroma, Apo disappears into the ground and transforms into a plant that emits a faint fragrance. At first, nothing seems to happen as Alan even questions whether this is useful at all. However, while he is trying to figure out what is going on, his mother comes and wonders where this random plant came from. Alan makes excuses while knowing that summoning here is very dangerous. Time passes as Alan trains with Krina again in swordsmanship. Even with buffs, he cannot defeat her, which shows how strong she is, but she notices that he has grown stronger because his sword mastery skill has reached level 3. After this, he goes back to his home, where he continues his practice in which he throws stones on a tree, hoping to unlock a new skill. He has thrown countless stones on this tree without success to a point where his little brother starts asking him to stop. He does not want to stop, but he eventually realizes that he has responsibilities at home, so he should head back. Back at home, all of them are chilling out when Rodden is carried back by fellow hunters, and he is severely injured because he was protecting a commoner during a boar hunt. Alan sees that Rodden's wounds are very expertly treated. So Gerda explains that they used healing herbs called Mulia's flowers purchased that very expensive according to the hot mom. Gerda says that they had gold, which was previously given as compensation by a knight captain. Just then, the whole village starts tweaking out because they think commoners shouldn't be allowed to hunt with them because Rodden almost died to save a commoner. Gerda stays while he tells the rest of them to leave. Later at night, Alan comes to Gerda and demands to know more about this situation and about the commoner who clapped father. He explains that no commoner would ever volunteer for this because of how dangerous the hunt can be, but the chief of the village gave them a direct order to commoners with them. And he speculates that the chief did this because Zenoff considered Rodden a hero, so they thought if the commoners stayed with him, they would be protected. On the other hand, while listening to this, Alan feels very guilty because he can't do anything for his family right now. As morning comes near, he sits by his father and tells his mother to rest as well because he wants to look over his father. Before she can say anything, Rodden suddenly wakes up as they hug each other. But even though Alan finds this very wholesome, he thinks about what he is even doing here. He spends most of his time trying to rank himself up, but right now, he realizes that he wants to prioritize his family more. The next day, Alan decides to do all the chores as he goes and brings water alongside farming potatoes with Gerda. Once he is done taking all the potatoes out from the ground, he is shocked to see the village chief. The chief has brought along the commoner who risked Rodden's life, so he apologizes to him as he is easily forgiven. Alan is happy to see how generous his father is, but when they go inside, they talk to Derja, who is mad because she was about to lose her husband over a dumb mistake of a commoner. Even the chief apologizes and claims it will never happen again. The next day, Alan is in the middle of some grass where he has cleaned a spot. He summons a bunch of frogs and asks them to use provoke magic to call out birds because he has set lots of traps for them. He waits for hours and hours, and just when he is about to give up, a huge bird comes flying and lands close to him while destroying all his traps. Alan thinks that he is not strong enough to fight such an enormous monster, so he decides to retreat but notices that his level just went up, meaning he can boost and enhance his summons even more. Knowing this, he feels more confident in fighting the bird and helping his family. He picks a rock up and throws it at the creature to distract it while attacking with his wooden sword. The bird isn't affected by this at all and takes down Alan, who summons a bunch of wolves to jump him. But the bird easily takes down all the wolves only to attack Alan once again. He takes a hit and wonders why it hurt more than usual, but quickly realizes that his summons boost his power. So since all of them are dead, Alan is getting weaker. He falls to the ground while the creature is ready to eat him. While fighting the bird, Alan thinks he might get slimed out, but he suddenly gets an idea. He summons a bunch of energy-sucking leeches that start draining his power. As the monster gets weaker, Alan summons his wolves, and this time the bird is not able to take out the wolves because of how weak it is right now. Just then, Alan comes and lands the final blow with his sword as the monster finally dies. Because of this, Alan also gets 100 XP, and this makes him very happy because this is his biggest accomplishment yet. He then brings it home, and everyone is shocked to see this. They ask him how he hunted it down but lies and tells them that he found the monster sleeping, which is why it was so easy to defeat it. Rodden notices a scar on his face and finds it suspicious, so he asks Alan about it. He makes an excuse that he got a little scratch from somewhere. Gerda, on the other hand, is looking at the bird and is very impressed with how a kid can manage to kill such a creature. So he decides that he will take its blood out. Gerda also asks Alan to join along, and as they stand in front of the bleeding bird, Gerda explains that 60% of this will go to the chief as tax. He then pulls a magic gem out of the bird and says that they have to give this gem and the wings of this bird alongside 60% of the meat. Alan thinks that is very unfair, so he plans to do something. Both of them are in the chief's office with the bird as Gerda announced that Rodden's little son has taken out this bird all by himself. He then demands that he should only take the feathers and no meat. The chief is shocked and clarifies that the Baron has ordered to get extra meat this year, and Alan realizes that this is why they insisted that commoners go along with them. The chief refuses this, but Gerda takes out the gem and says he can have the gem and feathers both. He also adds that one of his commoners risked the life of Rodden, as his poor family is starving, and to add more to this, Alan starts acting weak as well. The chief then finally gives up and allows them to have all the meat. Later on, Alan is in the same field where he is calling for a monster. But instead of one, two birds come, so he uses the same way he used before to defeat them. He drains their power with leeches while summoning the wolves and landing the final blow himself. After taking out these 2 birds, he checks his stats and realizes that this time he got 200 XP and has also been upgraded to level 2. This makes him super happy even though he hasn't unlocked anything significant yet. He then returns home with both of the dead birds, and Rodden is confused seeing this. He wonders how a kid is able to take down monsters at once without even getting injured. A few hours later, Alan is outside draining the monster's blood while training with Krina. While fighting her, his mind is completely somewhere else as he is thinking about how taking out more monsters will upgrade his rank and keeping all the meat will last them the whole winter. So if he wants to do it seriously, he should tell his family about who he is. While he is distracted by this, Krina jumps him and takes him out. At night, he gathers his family around the fire and wants to tell them about who he is. He states that when he was 1 year old, he got a vision from Elmia where he was told he had significant powers, so he needed to learn how to utilize them. In his mind, he apologizes for not telling the truth, but thinks that he can never tell anyone that he was reincarnated here. He then tells them that he was given this power for a reason, and he will do his best to do the right thing and help people. Hearing this, his mother hugs him because she feels proud. Rodden asks him what he will do next, so Alan makes it clear that he wants to go through more trials to learn more about his powers. 1 year passes by, and Alan is 6 years old now as he is cutting up more monsters. Gerda comes and is still shocked to see how incredible Alan is, but both of them need to trade the meat, so they go together. Both of them are moving amongst the commoners, so Alan asks him what the difference is between a commoner and a villager. Gerda says that commoners live in the city, and they get taxed in the form of money, not meat. Upon being asked, he explains that a villager can give a lot of gold to a commoner as well. Alan thinks that his new sibling can come anytime soon, so he needs to work harder to take his family to a better place. After this, they go shop to shop and trade their meat for other useful things. The next day, he comes back to the city and asks the shopkeeper about the prices of everything he traded yesterday. He does the calculation based on the local prices. He realizes that he needs to kill at least 500 monsters for his whole family to be commoners too. Then, he goes to a medicine shop where he first asks about mana power medicine, but eventually asks about the flower that healed his dad. When he mentions the flower's name, the shopkeeper starts tweaking out. Alan does not realize what's wrong, so the shopkeeper explains that Gerda was here a few days ago begging him for the flower. Its price was 5 gold coins, but Gerda only had 3, so he refused to sell it. But Gerda got on his knees and kept begging till the shopkeeper gave up and sold it to him. Hearing this story shocks Alan because he never realized how many things Gerda does for Rodden. While the shopkeeper apologizes for trauma dumping, Alan gives him a piece of meat for free. He thanks the man and leaves the shop to explore more things. While walking around, Dagora appears out of nowhere and starts beefing with Alan for no reason. Alan tries to leave, but he pushes him from the back and throws him down while saying that Alan needs to be his slave if he wants to leave. Alan gets furious and pulls out his weapon while also telling him to go get his weapon too. They start fighting as he has a wooden baseball bat and Alan has a wooden sword. Dagora fights recklessly with no skill, which is why Alan defeats him very easily. As Alan walks away, Dagora keeps looking at him angrily. Some time goes by, and everyone trains together now. Alan's little brother is grown enough to train with Krina, while Alan trains with Dagora, who still plays dirty since he throws a sneak attack but still loses. At night, we see that Alan has a newborn sister that they named Mila. While they are with the new baby, Rodden and Gerda come home later at night and explain that the chief called them for a meeting. They all sit down and start to talk, where Rodden says that instead of 10 boars, the Baron wants them to bring in 15 boars. They find it super unfair, but believe that they have no choice but to do as told if they want to survive. This doesn't sit right with Derja because her husband almost got clapped because of a stupid commoner. Gerda suggests that they try to deliver 15 boars, but requests that they do it alone with no commoners so that they can have a fighting chance. He thinks that the commoners will just slow them down, so they just try to get rid of them. Alan disagrees with this and says that Elmia has given him super intelligence for a reason, so he wants to put it to use. He deduces that Gerda is wrong because if they manage to get 15 boars, then after some time the Baron will demand 20 and so on. He suggests that the single best thing they can do right now is accept the commoners and train them to efficiently hunt through teamwork. It sounds good to both Rodden and Gerda, so they go together to meet the commoners. All of the commoners are happy to see him healthy again as they ask Alan if all of them will be using his special techniques. Rodden confirms that they will use them and see what happens, but Alan will sit on the side to only look at how a fight goes on in the woods. Gerda then screams and wants everyone to march in the woods so they can hunt some boars. While walking away, Alan starts reflecting on his life and thinks about how far he has come in only 7 years. so he is more motivated to go on his first hunt. Just then, Alan looks at a white mountain and thinks how the boars are always in these mountains and only come out in the cold. He also states that there should be a legendary white dragon if the myths are correct. Eventually, they reach their spot where they have to hunt. So Rawdon commands everyone to take their position as the commoners hide behind trees. Two people come running with a boar chasing them. So when it comes in the middle of the field, they move out of the way and let Gerda and Rawdon's team take the lead. Once they hurt the boar enough, the commoners and distraction team also start attacking. When they finally kill the boar, Alan feels very proud because they used his techniques. Everyone thanks Alan for what he has done. The next day, he is filling buckets with water while talking to two hunters. They ask him if he will go on more hunts, so Alan expresses that he feels bad sitting on the side and doing nothing while the rest of them. Another reason is that he gets no power-ups because he isn't even involved in taking down the monster. The other hunter says that he misses hunting, but he hasn't gone on a hunt for a long time since he turned into a butcher. Knowing that he's a butcher, an idea comes into Alan's mind. He takes the butcher to his home, where he shows all the birds he has hunted. The butcher is shocked and impressed to see this, but Alan demands that the butcher cut it all for him so that he can make small packets of meat and trade it for better things. He isn't serious about it because he just wants to sell this meat to get 50 gold coins. The next day, they all go hunting again, where Alan notices that there are more commoners this time. But he realizes that it is a good thing because if they have more people, they will slime out more boars. He thinks the newbies can also be trained. Suddenly, some hunters are running and coming inside the field as a boar chases them. Rawdon's team instantly attacks it, and when it's down, the rest of them also start stabbing until he gets slimed out. Once the fight is over, everyone gets boosts and new levels. So Alan checks his grimoire and sees that this time he got an upgrade as well. He explains that he summoned a low-level grasshopper, so when the boar stepped on it, that counted as Alan fighting with them, which is why this time he actually got upgraded. 3 months go by as Krina and Alan are coming from a New Year's dinner that was hosted in the chief's home. No villager before has been at a dinner party with a chief, so this is a very big deal for the both of them. When they come back home, they start celebrating the new year. And while eating, Gerda asks Alan if the chief said anything about him or Rawdon. As it turns out, the chief is very satisfied with their work because they managed to deliver 15 boars in just 3 months. Rawdon, however, thinks that with the number of people they have alongside the smart strategy of Alan, they can even take down 20 boars. Suddenly, Gerda notices an alcohol bottle in Alan's bag and understands that the chief must have given him this as a present. Gerda and Rawdon both want it, and they keep him for the bottle. So he tells them that both of them would have to beat Alan in a challenge to get this alcohol. But he also adds that if they lose, they will have to let Alan fight the boars as well. It's a tough decision, but they risk it as Gerda goes first, only to realize Alan has chosen arm wrestling. But he underestimates Alan and thinks he will win. Shockingly, he instantly defeats Gerda as the rest cheer him on for being this strong. Rawdon then steps in, and everyone can see that Alan is struggling to keep up with him. He admires his father through this, appreciating how strong he got for his family. When he is done glazing him, Rawdon beats him in the arm wrestling. He accepts his defeat decently, and doesn't wait a second to hand them the alcohol. While they are drinking, Alan is sitting with Krina, and he tells his father that since he lost the bet, he won't participate in hunting, but one day he will. Suddenly, Durga gets too drunk and starts teasing his wife, who smacks him down and controls the whole situation. A few months pass by when Alan reads his grimoire only to see that he went a level up, meaning that he has unlocked new monsters to summon. He wants to combine and do new experiments, but the main thing is that he realizes more summons means he will have more buffs on him as well. He then finds out that he also unlocked a new skill called storage, which is just a black rectangle in the middle of his book. He starts putting random stuff in there to see where it would go, but he can't see anything. He puts his hand in the dark rectangle and realizes that it provides a mental image of whatever is inside there and guides the person to take back whatever they put in this storage. He starts doing more experiments by throwing things in there and realizes something. Later on, he sits with his family and keeps thinking about the storage he got because he finds it very sus that he would get such a strong power at this level. So there must be something to it. Verja sees how Alan looks a bit worried and asks her how he is feeling, but he brushes it off and avoids the question. After this, he goes out and wants to practice some more, but when he attempts to summon a card, he fails to do so. He is confused about what's happening and speculates whether his mana power ran out. But that is not the case. The book tells him that he now has E-level cards, so to use them, Alan must have E-ranking gemstones. He realizes he has a bunch of them he collected while hunting all those birds, so he goes in the house, and from a secret space, he picks up one gemstone and runs outside to see if it will work. He puts the gem on his forehead and asks for a card to be summoned, but it doesn't work. So he thinks putting the gemstone in the book storage might help. Once he does this, the card starts moving, so when he summons it, it turns out to be a butterfly. Before he can see what its skills are, Derja comes there because she heard loud noises, so she confronts Alan on what all of this is about. He makes an excuse again by telling his mother he was just training while the butterfly was on his back. After this, he summons a giant saber-tooth with very high stats, so summoning him benefits Alan as well, who is a little scared right now. Before anything can happen, he puts him back in the card and tries to fuse it with the butterfly, but realizes that he ran out of gemstones. Right now, his only job is to collect gemstones. At night, he is at dinner with his family when he asks Rodden where he can get more crystal gems. Rodden gives a straight answer that the creature that mainly has the crystal gems is likely instinct since they were hunted so much. The next day, Krina and Dagola are training with each other, where she is wiping the floor with him. But on the other hand, Alan is chilling under a tree with Palomas. Alan asks him what the magic gems are and where he can find them. So Palomas clarifies that they are gems that are located near some rare monster's heart. But they can also be used to enhance some weapons, but some weapons can't even operate without them. As for where to find them, Palomas says the kingdom has no value for them, so he can find them anywhere in the streets. He proves his point by picking up a gemstone right there. As he hands over the gem and walks away, Alan is excited to gather the gems. After a while, he has gathered enough gems that he cards a few more creatures that he can summon, and he cannot wait to use them. Just when he tries to summon one, his hand slips and accidentally releases a hawk. But before he can deal with the hawk, a boar attacks him out of nowhere, and he manages to hurt Alan very badly. But one of his summons comes and heals him up, while the butterfly releases a poison spray that makes the boar unconscious. The saber-tooth comes and finishes the job. But to Alan's fear, another boar is running towards him. Alan's last summon comes and stops that boar easily. But as it turns out, this was all in Alan's head because he really wants to try his powers. However, he realizes that he got the storage to keep collecting the gems and have every deadly creature under his control. After a few days, Gerda and Rodden, alongside Alan Krina, are eating dinner in the chief's office, where they discuss their business. The chief then explains that in a month, the Baron wants to come here so that he can watch Rodden and his team kill boars. The chief also states this early on that the Baron will need a guide to show him around, so the chief wants it to be Alan. Everyone disagreed with this, but he realizes that if he does things right, the Baron might turn him into a commoner for free, meaning that he won't have to collect gold anymore. A month passes by as the Baron finally comes and is greeted very humbly. He is here with his daughter named Cecil, who sits inside the diner room where they start talking. He starts praising the chief by saying that the chief's village is by far the best village the Baron owns. The Baron then clarifies that he was not the one giving the orders related to increasing the boar deaths and that it was the main king who has the most power here. Then, the Baron doesn't know what kind of meat he is taking in his mouth. So Alan very decently says that this is a giant bird's meat and they hunted him just yesterday, so it's super fresh and juicy. The Baron is very impressed by his manners and asks where he is from and who his father is. He proudly announces that his father is none other than Rodden, the man who has killed the most boars. But when Alan tells him that he is from a village, the Baron's daughter, Cecil, gets visibly disgusted and asks why a filthy village boy is with them. The Baron gets mad and commands her to be more respectful of him since the villagers are their partners. After scolding her, he tells Alan to not worry at all and just stay prepared for tomorrow. They are also concerned if they will be able to kill 20 boars, but Alan reassures them they are the best hunters, so they can do this in a matter of days. The Baron is very pleased by this and wants to witness it. So the next day, they build a tall tower where the Baron and the rest will see the show. Once they get there, they see 3 hunters going away. So Baron asks what is going on. Alan explains that those 3 people will lure the boar here, then they will jump him. When Alan is done talking, Zenoff pulls him away and asks how Krina is doing. Alan does not respond well, but Zenoff asks him to tell Krina that soon she will have a teacher to properly train him in a school. Just then, a boar comes running, and Alan explains everything that's happening. He tells the Baron that they will first wrap him in 2 sheets made of boar hide, which is the toughest part of the boar, so it will break, trapping him completely. Rodden's team then comes running and starts attacking. And when the boar is weakened, the commoners come with bigger spears and clap him even more. Cecil is too scared to see the rest clap for them because of how wonderful this whole thing was. Zenoff is impressed that they aren't even trained soldiers and are still managing to do this. Suddenly, 2 more boars come running, which scares the Baron, due to which he orders his men to help them out. But Alan stops them from ordering for his knights because he trusts his team, who have prepared for this scenario. They split their team and captured one with the sheets, but not the other one. The one that gets captured gets slimed out as they eventually manage to defeat the other one as well. Baron gets very impressed by this and thinks they need to defeat 17 more, but Alan states that they have already clapped 7 of them, so the remaining number is 10. The Baron thanks him for his service, but Alan says he wants to ask for 2 things, and he agrees on giving whatever he asks for. The first thing Alan wants is another set of sheets in case 2 boars come, so the Baron instantly agrees. His second wish is to allow the villagers to trade liquor and alcohol. The Baron is confused, so Alan explains their only trading material is meat. So if they can trade it with liquor, they can redistribute it so the market doesn't crash. The Baron is impressed, but still wonders why liquor. So he gives a simple answer that all hunters are very tired at night, so they need a little alcohol in their system. Understanding this, the Baron agrees to this as well. While all of them are leaving, Cecil again feels disgusted by looking at Alan, and this makes him cry, which is not cool. After this, they are immediately to meet the Baron in his throne room. He tells them that he is very satisfied with their performance, so he wants to give them a gift. Alan already gets excited, and just then, Baron says that they are now commoners as a reward. Alan is super excited about this and thinks that he can finally go to the White Mountain to hunt the White Dragon. Before the Baron dismisses them, his butler reminds him of what the king wanted to know. The king wants to promote their village to a higher rank, but also wants to know how this village even started hunting boars. Gerda says that Rodden is a bit sensitive about telling this story, so Gerda will tell the story. Approximately 13 years ago, some people came to a lost land and worked very hard for months and months. Just when their village was built, a boar came and destroyed almost everything, leaving everyone hopeless. But Rodden came up front and motivated all of them to go and hunt that boar so they could eat him. All of them take their farm tools and eventually manage to take the boar out. Meanwhile, the Baron thinks that this is a good story, but doesn't understand why he feels sad about it. Gerda tells him that a dear friend of Rodden was clapped during this first boar hunt because they were amateurs. This also explains why he put his life on the line for a commoner he didn't even know. He sympathizes with Rodden and asks him to wish for anything. Without a second thought, he asks the Baron to hire Alan in his castle because he wants him to be in the best place possible. Alan wonders how he can get out of a situation like this. But while he is thinking, the Baron makes Alan his family's royal manservant. Cecil is super shocked, but the Baron clarifies that Alan is not a village boy, but a commoner now, so he will get this job. Rodden cries tears of joy as they go back home to meet their mother, who is very emotional about letting her son go away for so long. Krina and his family are also there to bid farewell to Alan. Alan knows he is much stronger now, so he asks Krina to spar with him one last time before he leaves, so she happily agrees to it. They start sparring with their swords, and everyone senses how strong Alan has become. He remembers that he has the enhancement of all the new cards he used, so he has way more speed now. They keep fighting as he thinks how Krina is so good that after graduating from school she might come to the royal palace too, where they can meet again. He then puts his sword on her throat and claims victory, but considers it a tie. He says he would love to spar the next time they meet, and she likes the idea. But Derja hugs him again as his little brother is also there telling him good luck. Alan then notices that 2 people are sneaking up on him, but he soon realizes that they are Dagora and Palomas. Dagora feels very uncomfortable giving his ops something nice, but Palomas kicks him closer to Alan's, who sees that he has a golden knife in his hand. Alan feels nice about this, but after handing him the gift, he tells Alan to never speak of this with anyone. After saying this, he runs away but falls down as everyone starts laughing at him. After this, he finally heads to the royal palace with his mother and father. Rodden gives him advice that being a manservant is just the start, so he needs to work harder to climb higher. They finally reach the royal palace, where the chief is waiting for them with a big smile. Derja once again hugs him while crying, and so with this, Alan sits in the carrier as he cries and looks back at his parents. Alan finally arrives at the Baron's mansion to officially start his work as a servant, but the luxury of the estate leaves him shocked. After his poor villager ass is done gooning over the luxury mansion, Cecil makes him help her pick fruit from a tall tree by using him as support. They manage to get the fruit down, but Cecil dislikes the taste and wants Alan to go to a market to buy a better fruit instead. While they are talking, he notices a massive ship in the sky, and he needs Cecil to explain this. She tells him that it is not an ordinary airship, but a magical ship, something common in noble society, so a village boy wouldn't know about it. The next morning, Alan wakes up in his small, worn-out room, and despite the poor condition, He does not complain at all because he has secretly planted special plants there that give him status boosts. After heading downstairs for breakfast, he greets the head servant, Rickle, who is nice enough to explain the difference between ranks among servants. Senior servants include butlers, housekeepers, valets, ladies-in-waiting, and head chefs. Lower-ranked servants include coachmen, cooks, gardeners, and manservants like Alan, who are formally considered part of the household. Hearing this, Alan realizes why his father had been so emotional when he became a manservant. At breakfast with the Baron's family, the Baron's wife compliments Alan on his manners, as the Baron notes that while Alan lacks talent, he works very hard. Sissel then proudly reveals that she possesses a 2-star wizard talent, while mentioning that her older brother, Mihai, is a swordsman. However, this causes tension because another family member, Thomas, does not possess talent, so the Baron gets a little mad at Cecil for trying to rage bait others. Later on, Alan uses his afternoon break to explore the town, and compared to his village, the town feels like a luxurious place. He then visits the Adventurers Guild and asks about becoming an adventurer. But he is told that the minimum age is 12, and Lil Bro is only 8. Though disappointed, he refuses to give up on monster hunting as he starts studying the guild's bounty board carefully. There are rewards for horned rabbits, D-rank goblins, large toads, and many other monsters. Just then, an adventurer named Raven briefly explains how monster ranks work. The farther a monster lives from town, the higher its rank, but the powerful monsters dwell near White Dragon Mountain. One particularly dangerous creature has a large bounty but remains unhunted due to its speed and strength. Alan gathers as much information as possible and quietly leaves before he gets in trouble. On his next day off, Alan heads outside the town with the Baron's badge as permission. Ignoring the guards' concerns about going alone, he goes about 10 kilometers into the forest, aiming to hunt D-rank monsters, so he summons his hawk too. Its name is Hawkins, and its intelligence has reached 150, so it can understand commands clearly. He then releases more hawks to scout for monsters using their Hawkeye skill. He also tests Tama, another summon, but Tama's low intelligence makes her unable to follow instructions well. Soon after this, Hawkins finds some goblins, so Alan summons multiple Tamas to surround them. The fight is intense, with both sides taking damage equally. When needed, Alan summons a butterfly creature that uses a sleep ability to put the goblins to sleep. He claps their cheeks while they sleep and finishes them off to collect their magic stones. He continues hunting throughout the day, defeating goblins and horned rabbits, leveling up twice and gathering valuable data about his summons. As night draws near, he learns that his butterfly has an 80% chance to put monsters to sleep, and that D-rank magic stones cannot summon E-rank creatures. However, his hawks struggle to see in the dark, leaving him worried about finding his way back, but eventually, he manages to return home safely. A month passes and Alan purchases some iron balls for 60 silver coins to use as stronger throwing weapons. By now, he has hunted several times and reached level 12. So he focuses on farming weaker monsters for experience and equipment. The Baron eventually questions Alan about how he spends his days off, so Alan honestly admits that he hunts monsters outside town. He explains that as the son of Rodden the Boar Hunter, hunting is in his blood, so the Baron understands. The butler warns Alan not to sell rabbit meat to random butchers, as it could harm the household's reputation. Instead, the family offers to buy the meat directly for 1 silver coin per bundle. Alan gladly agrees, realizing he can now earn money while continuing his training and ranking up. 6 months later, Alan continues hunting regularly, as one day, his hawks behave strangely and lead him far beyond the usual 3-kilometer radius. He discovers Raven's party surrounded by goblins as Raven is badly injured and his teammates are struggling to protect him. Alan intervenes by throwing his big heavy black iron balls to stop the goblins. He fights directly using his knife, relying on his high stats boosted by summons. With attack and agility above 300, he easily defeats D-rank goblins without revealing his creatures. After clearing the enemies, he looks at Raven's condition to see if he can heal him or not. Knowing Raven will not survive the journey back to town, Alan uses a special item from his inventory, which is the Leaf of Life, created through his summons ability. The leaf instantly heals Raven's severe injuries, as he also heals another injured member, Rita. The group is shocked by the power of the item, so Alan asks them to keep his identity and abilities secret. In return for saving them, he requests 100 E-rank magic stones, something easy for them to gather but valuable to him as a summoner, So they agree. Reflecting on the battle, Alan analyzes the healing differences between items. The Leaf of Life restores a fixed amount of HP, making it far more powerful than percentage-based healing items like Muller's Flower. He also notes that when fighting in a party, experience is not divided the same way he expected. But most importantly, he realizes that Hawkins disobeyed his order intentionally to save the adventurers. This means his summons possess emotions and independent judgment. So instead of being angry, Alan appreciates Hawkins' compassion and appreciates him for doing such a kind thing. Later on, the Baron and his household are having a meal together, and instead of boar meat, which is usually served during festival season, they are eating rabbit. It is revealed that Alan hunted the rabbit himself, earning praise from Xenoff, who comments that Alan truly is Rodden's son. The village has already fulfilled their goal of hunting 20 boars, yet none of that meat is available to them. The reason becomes clear as it is revealed that the king likes taking meat in his mouth, which means that most of the boar meat is being sent directly to the royal capital. During the conversation, Thomas jokingly suggests that Alan should hunt a white deer next time. Cecil immediately reacts possessively, reminding everyone that Alan is her servant and takes orders from her. The Baron's wife doubts that such a difficult task would be possible for him, but Alan quietly decides to take on the challenge. Alan later heads to the mountains to prepare as he sets up a pit trap and uses his summoned creatures, the Hoppers, to lure the white deer toward his trap. The creature is enormous and has already killed several goblins, but Alan does not hesitate. By repeatedly distracting and guiding it, he successfully leads the monster into the trap. Once it falls in, he oils it up and finishes it off with his knife. Proud of his strategy, he brings the massive white deer back to the Baron's residence, causing panic among the people who initially believe a monster attack has occurred. When they learn that Alan hunted it himself for Thomas, everyone is shocked. Although Thomas is happy, Alan internally notes that the experience gained from the hunt is lower than expected and decides it is not worth repeating. The Baron is deeply surprised that an 8-year-old village slave boy without any official talent could defeat a C-rank monster. So he begins to question whether Alan's appraisal was accurate or not. Soon after, the butler summons Alan and informs him that he is being given a new position as the household's huntsman. This role involves hunting monsters to supply food for the Baron's family and protecting the town from monster attacks. In return, Alan will receive a fixed monthly salary of 100 silver coins, which would double his current pay. Alan understands that the white deer alone is worth more than that, meaning the Baron is securing his services at a stable rate rather than paying per hunt. Even so, Alan accepts, thinking it will allow him more chances to hunt. However, he soon learns that he needs Cecil because he will still serve as her personal attendant and only perform huntman duties once a week. Sometime later, a magical airship comes as Mihai arrives, and Cecil greets him warmly. Alan notices that Mihai, who recently enrolled in the academy, looks more mature than his age suggests. Alan offers to carry Mihai's belongings and is introduced as both Cecil's servant and the household huntsman. Mihai is impressed by Alan's dual roles at such a young age. Later, Mihai and Xenoff engage in a sparring match as Alan watches closely. Impressed by both fighters, Mihai's swordsmanship has improved greatly after a year at the academy, so Mihai challenges Alan to a duel. The Baron allows it, and Xenoff lends Alan his special sword. Confident due to his recent level growth from 13 to 20 through weekly hunts, Alan believes he can win. However, Mihai's training proves superior, as despite Alan's speed and effort, Mihai skillfully blocks his attacks and eventually manages to clap him. Alan admits defeat as Mihai praises Alan's strength, and the family acknowledges Mihai's growth. After Mihai departs for the Academy City again, Cecil is saddened. But life returns to normal until Viscount Carnell visits the Baron's estate. Both of them have obvious beef with each other, as Carnell, whose territory lies beyond White Dragon Mountain, holds a higher title than the Baron. He has influence over boar hunting policies. During dinner, Carnell praises the meat, unaware that it is rabbit rather than boar. Through Rickle, Alan learns about the political and economic tension between the two territories, as White Dragon Mountain contains rich mines. However, a white dragon nests on the Baron's side, preventing access, so every 100 years, the dragon changes territory, historically causing financial hardship. The rivalry between the nobles is rooted in these cycles of advantage and loss. Anyways, time passes by, and Alan turns 9. On a day off, he visits the group of adventurers to gather information about C-rank monsters. Having already defeated 10,000 goblins, D-rank monsters no longer provide meaningful experience. Despite warnings that C-rank monsters are dangerous even for experienced adventurers, Alan is determined to grow stronger. He upgrades his equipment, choosing light armor that does not restrict movement. His enhanced skill has reached level 5, doubling the buffs from his summons. Soon, he locates a C-rank orc that he catches off guard as he overwhelms it with summoned creatures while he defeats it, gaining significant experience and a magic stone. Encouraged, he targets another C-rank monster, which is an armored ant. This creature proves to be more difficult as its hardened shell resists Alan's knife, and even after defeating it with strategy and persistence, he cannot extract the magic stone. He realizes his physical attacks are insufficient against such defenses. Reviewing his stats, Alan notices his intelligence is unusually high, so this leads him to consider whether he can use magic. Because of this, he again needs Cecil because she arranges for a professor to check him, which is a birthday request as well, so he chooses an appraisal. The professor has him place his hand on a crystal ball and confirms that Alan has no magical talent and cannot cast spells. Alan is deeply disappointed because, with his high intelligence but no ability to use magic, he questions the meaning of his summoner class. After some time, the Baron's family is chilling and having a meal when a sudden siren echoes across the area that ruins their vibe. Alan explains that he got the news about a murder gale monster heading straight toward the city. The Baron gets worried about this and wants all his forces to protect the kingdom, which is why he asks about Xenoff. It turns out that he and his army are far away on a monster hunt and will not return for 2 days. So with no immediate military support available, the Baron orders that help be requested from the Adventurers Guild and that civilians be evacuated. Hearing all this, Alan is interested and wants to lure the monster away from the city. But Cecil gets very worried because he is her servant. But Alan reminds everyone that he is not only a servant but also the family's hunter, and protecting them is part of his duty. Meanwhile, everyone in the city is freaking out as Alan heads toward the gate while analyzing the situation. He recognizes the creature as a B-rank monster, meaning that he can easily foil the local adventurers. Then, as the gates prepare to close, a desperate man stops the guards, saying his wife and daughter are still trapped in a carriage outside. Alan spots a horrifying scene where he sees the monster devouring a horse, while the trapped family remains helpless inside. Seeing this, he acts immediately with his metal ball as he strikes the monster in the eye, injuring it and drawing its attention toward him. The guards are stunned by Lil Bro's confidence, but want him to stop if he doesn't want to lose his life. But Alan ignores them and continues provoking the monster while running with the intention to lead it toward the White Dragon Mountain. The monster attacks him, but Alan dodges it while running away from the city. While running, once he is safely away from populated areas, he summons creatures to help him, starting with butterflies meant to induce sleep. Their attempt fails as the monster is too strong, so with no effective counter, Alan is forced to keep running. This chase continues for 3 days until Alan finally escapes and makes his way back to the city in terrible condition. He falls down near the gate, but is caught by a guard before hitting the ground. When he regains consciousness, Cecil is beside him, relieved but also upset that he caused her to worry so much. The butler asks what happened, and Alan explains that the monster chased him for 3 days straight before he managed to return. Later, he reports directly to the Baron, admitting that he could not defeat the creature and only tried to keep it away from the town. Instead of blaming him, the Baron praises his bravery, noting that his actions prevented greater destruction in the city. As a reward, Alan receives 10 gold coins from the Baron and another 10 from the family he saved. With all the dough he just secured from the Baron, Alan purchases a strong sword, which proves to be much better than his older sword. During a hunt, he easily defeats the ant-type monster whose body his previous knife could not penetrate. After collecting its magic stone, he decides to test more unique things with his summoned creature. He tests their awareness by hiding several things in a bag and asking different summonses to identify what is inside. From these tests, he learns that newly created summons share knowledge with each other, but this ability is limited. Only copies of the same creature can share information, and already summoned creatures cannot do this with the new ones. He also realizes that knowledge gained by a summon can be passed down even after it dies, meaning his creatures gradually improve over time. Time then passes by as Alan turns 9 years old. We see him sparring with Mihai, who has returned home after a long time. Despite Alan's growth and experience beefing with hundreds of monsters, he still cannot win. Mihai throws Alan's sword away and ends the match while claiming victory again. Although Alan feels bad taking the L, Mihai acknowledges his progress and expresses relief that Alan is there to protect Cecil. Later on, they are all in a gathering when Mihai learns about Alan's encounter with the Murder Gale monster and is impressed that he survived. Even he admits that defeating a B-rank monster alone would be nearly impossible. While they are talking about this, news arrives that the White Dragon has migrated away from the mountain, and since the dragon had stopped their mining operations, this news brings hope. The Baron plans to resume mining, which could restore the kingdom's wealth. However, he realizes that it would still be dangerous since the place is filled with high-rank monsters with chances of the White Dragon returning. After hearing this, Alan alone travels to the mountain once more because he wants to be stronger for the mining business. He reviews his skills, noting improvements in inventory and getting a new ability called Share. Curious about this skill, he tests it with one of his hawk summons, and immediately, he begins seeing and hearing through the creature's senses. He can even control its movement and use its special vision ability to observe distant objects. Excited by the possibilities, he experiments with multiple summons at once and discovers he can share this with up to 5 creatures at the same time. He starts tripping balls when he tries to connect with a third one, meaning that this ability has limits. Despite this, he realizes he can control them remotely, so he creates a strategy to hunt monsters without even being there. In battle tests, different summons perform specialized roles. One restrains enemies with silk, another breaks armor, others provide shields or buffs, and a unique creature restores his magical energy by transforming into a plant that produces a fruit. This means that he has now created a full hunting team that is capable of hunting monsters on their own. With this strategy, Alan can get experience without risking his life or wasting time. He then orders his creatures to hunt monsters but avoid attacking adventurers, even if the adventurers beef with them first. At last, he uses the Share skill for something more personal as he secretly observes his distant home village. He watches his father working as he notices the strange bird but cannot identify it. Alan also checks on his mother and younger sister, as he gets happy to see that they are safe and healthy. Before leaving, he drops a gold coin near the window as anonymous support for his family, promising silently to continue sending more bread every month. The next day, the Baron wants Zenoff to start their mining business as soon as possible, because if they wait, it will only attract broke-ass poor outsiders, which will lead to conflict between everyone. He remembers that his kingdom once sent miners deep into the area, but extreme heat cooked them before they could return. Wanting to not cook his people anymore, the Baron wants to start the mining work at a safer distance so that the soldiers don't get slimed out for no reason, especially since the area has orcs and goblins. Meanwhile, Alan feels excited because after 6 months of struggle, he finally has a chance to gain more experience points. After this, they are at the mining site, where goblins charge toward him, so he quickly summons his bears to fight for him. The bears easily clobber the goblins, which only shows how effective Alan's combat strategy has become. Soon enough, a goblin boss appears, and although Bro looks tough, he is roughly the size of a bear, so Alan defeats it without much trouble and gains a large amount of experience points. More time passes by as the new year arrives, so Mihai returns home to visit his family again, bringing joy to everyone, especially Cecil. Alan has beef with Mihai because of last time, so he prepares to spar with him in the training field. Over the years, Alan has gathered many summoned creatures and believes he is now stronger and can finally win. The two begin their match, and at first, Alan seems to have the advantage, but Mihai's long years of hard training help him overwhelm Alan, as he ultimately wins the fight while Alan has to take the L again. After the match, the Baron praises Mihai for his dedication during 3 years at the academy, but he later talks with his sister and reveals that he has been assigned to noble duty and may not be able to return home again. Cecil is obviously very sad about this news as she struggles to accept the possibility of losing her brother. Mihai reassures her as best as he can while preparing to leave, but before departing, he entrusts Alan with the responsibility of protecting his sister. After some time, Alan turns 10, and at that age, he has reached stronger levels as he commands a large number of summoned creatures into battle against a group of orcs. He successfully wipes out one of their units, but a much larger force soon comes, so Alan decides to summon more creatures to hold them off. The battle intensifies as 3 orc magicians join the fight and start launching powerful attacks. Alan manages to barely counter them, but the situation gets worse when an orc messenger alerts the orc king. The enraged king takes a very big army and starts coming toward Alan's position. Seeing this threat, Alan activates all his summons, but despite his strength, the enormous orc king proves to be more powerful and begins to win the fight. Alan gets his shit rocked during this, And while he is down, Xenoph arrives to help Alan. He quickly withdraws his summons to avoid revealing his full abilities. But Xenoph, however, shows no surprise and says that he will handle the Orc King while the vice captain deals with the rest of the army. Alan watches as Xenoph fights the king directly while remaining super calm and confident. At the same time, the vice captain slimes the surrounding orcs. Xenoph eventually defeats the Orc King in one swift attack, as Alan does. That night, Alan stays with Xenoph, who reveals that he has been sus about Alan possessing unusual abilities for a very long time now. His suspicions grew after the goblin boss was defeated, but his suspicions got confirmed when he saw Alan confronting the Orc King. Xenoph believes Alan uses magic stones to control animals and fight through them. Unaware of Alan's true summoning power, Alan decides not to correct this to him so that he can keep his secret. Xenoph also mentions that the Baron had recognized Alan's potential earlier, which is why he appointed him as a huntsman. As Alan treats Xenoph's injuries, the two realize they share a common objective and decide to continue working together. Over the next 2 weeks, they decide to hunt down orcs as hard as they can. Back at the royal palace, messengers arrive with urgent news. The letter states that Mihai has been assigned to participate in a war from which return is unlikely. So the announcement makes everyone worry. The Baron is against this, arguing that Mihai is still young and was entrusted to their care. But the messengers insist that noble duty leaves no room for refusal. The household falls into despair as the reality sinks in, and while Cecil and Thomas desperately seek reassurance, no one can promise Mihai's safe return. The uncertainty weighs heavily on everyone. Later on, while Alan is eating with a head servant and discussing the troubling situation, he gets the news that Cecil has run away from the castle. Panic spreads as the staff and soldiers begin searching everywhere for her and fearing for her safety. Alan rushes out to find her, determined to bring her back before she gets into any danger. At night, Cecil is wandering alone on the road after running away from her home, and she is clearly exhausted. As she rests, she starts thinking about how her brother will get slimed out in the army for no reason and wants to cry. But suddenly, Alan appears in front of her, as he has finally found her. Cecil insists that he should go back home, but despite her words, Alan notices that Cecil is so. Without saying anything, he brings out fruits and bread for her as he politely asks her to eat. Cecil, overwhelmed by hunger, cannot control herself and immediately starts eating the fruits. While eating, she asks Alan if her brother was weak because she fears that he might get clapped in the war if he's not strong enough. He reassures her by explaining how strong her brother actually is. After this, Cecil realizes that she does not want to go home, so Alan talks about becoming an adventurer soon and imagines traveling the world freely. So he asks the Huz to join him. Cecil is shocked by this idea and says it is impossible because she knows he just wants to crack her. But Alan yaps more about how she needs to make her own choices. So she decides that she wants to go back home. Alan happily helps her by carrying her on his back and takes her home. When they arrive, the Baron immediately hugs Cecil tightly, as he is happy to see her instead of getting mad. He promises her that soon they will begin mining, and in return, he will free her from the noble duty she fears. On the other side, Alan resumes his hunting work, and by now, he has grown significantly stronger as he takes down an Orc King on his own. Meanwhile, the captain informs the Baron that they have started approaching the mining area, and soon the mining operation will begin. The next day, Alan is seen climbing a mountain, and as he climbs, he remembers how Cecil once wanted to join him on a hunt. When Alan reaches the top, he discovers a massive colony of ants, and it appears to be their main nest. Seeing this as an opportunity, he summons a lot of his bears and orders them to attack the ants. But they instantly fight back as countless of them start coming out of their nest. While fighting, a month passes by, and the ants still keep coming as the fight keeps going. Eventually, he realizes that the bodies of the ants he killed earlier have disappeared, and he feels sus that the ant queen might be eating the bodies in order to produce new eggs, which is why the ant army never ends. Realizing this, Alan decides to stay longer and investigate further. After nearly 2 months, he has taken out over 5,000 ants, and finally their numbers begin to decline. With most of the ants gone, Alan decides to go inside the nest and oil up the queen. But before going in, he sends his birds to scout the area. Inside, they discover a massive chamber filled with eggs because the nest is huge, with complex pathways like a maze. It takes him a long time to fully map it out, but Alan somehow manages to find the core of the nest where the ant queen would be. Once inside, Alan orders all his bears to jump the queen at once as another fight starts. They take her out by targeting her lower body, which is weaker, and upon defeating the queen, Alan gains a massive amount of experience, which is over 45,000. After this, he brings proof of the queen's defeat back to the Baron, and when he sees the ant queen, he struggles to believe that Alan has the power to do this. Everyone acknowledges Alan's achievement in shock, and the Baron glazes him so much that he decides to reward him with a 30% share in the mining operation. At first, Alan does not understand the significance of this, but a butler standing by explains that in the future, this will bring him great wealth since a 30% share can sum up to major bread. Later on, a royal messenger arrives, and he kindly informs the Baron that the mine is not under his control and that neighboring territories can also have a claim. He presents a contract demanding that the profits be shared equally. But the Baron instantly refuses since he already gave 30% of it to a kid. He decides that he must go to the capital and speak directly with the king about this matter. So the messenger leaves. The Baron immediately wants to travel to the capital to see his daddy about this matter, but he must wait for the Imperial captain to return first. Meanwhile, Alan is busy with his usual tasks when he suddenly hears Cecil screaming, so he rushes toward her. When he arrives, he sees that 3 adventurers are kidnapping Cecil. Alan starts tripping balls, so he instantly attacks them. But these random adventurers are quite strong, and Alan struggles against them. While fighting, they suddenly throw a smoke bomb, and Alan loses consciousness. When he wakes up, he finds himself captured along with Cecil, as she is still unconscious. But seeing her unharmed calms him down. He does not need his hands to use his powers, so he secretly summons and sends out one of his birds to scout the surroundings. The bird reveals that they are aboard an airship, which surprises Alan. But what shocks him even more is discovering that the same royal messenger is behind the kidnapping. Alan quickly understands that the messenger wants to use Cecil as leverage to force Baron into sharing the mine. Wanting to escape, Alan summons a butterfly that puts the guards to sleep. And when one of the adventurers attacks and destroys the butterfly, Alan takes the opportunity to free himself. He stands up, ready to defend Cecil and fight the kidnappers. The adventurers suddenly attack Alan, but they underestimate him as he summons several of his animals and uses them to fight back. The attacks are strong enough to cook everyone there, which gives Alan the chance to think about taking Cecil and escape. As he prepares to somehow leave, the leader of the adventurers suddenly comes and yeets Alan away with a strong kick. His name is Dagra, and he tries to overpower Alan. But suddenly, one of Alan's summonses, which is a pigeon, makes a strange sound in order to cause a distraction. He quickly uses this opportunity to order one of his spiders to attack Dagra. Alan then quickly grabs Cecil and starts to run, knowing damn well that he's cooked if he tries to fight Dagra. As they are escaping, Alan sees that the flying ship they are currently on is not too high, so he tells Cecil to hold on tightly as he jumps from the ship. Cecil gets scared for her life, but Alan locks in, and even though the landing causes him pain, he pretends like nothing happened. But after landing, he tells her to quickly run towards her home since they are still in danger. She is a little confused and asks questions, but he insists only on escaping as he summons owls to keep watch on the Dagra as he carries Cecil on his back while running through narrow streets. Soon enough, he realizes that the Dagra is using tracking magic, which means that he is following their footprints. So to avoid being tracked, Alan tries to move without touching the ground. He does this by moving across rooftops instead of running on the roads. During this run, Cecil wonders why he is running so badly, even though he has the strength to fight huge monsters. Alan simply explains that he is not in the best condition to fight, and he does not want to risk things while fighting someone he doesn't know. They continue heading toward the kingdom's border, where Alan explains that crossing the mountains and getting to their own kingdom will take several days. Since he wants to leave no footprints, he summons his soldiers and moves across them in the air. But after traveling for some distance, they set up a small camp at night to rest. The next morning, he carries her again and resumes running. Using his summons, he checks whether Dagra is still following them, and he discovers that he is searching by using his technique and circling the kingdom in hopes of finding Alan's footprints. Seeing this, Alan continues using summoned soldiers to stay off the ground. After 2 or 3 days pass by, they finally reach Cecil's kingdom's territory. But Alan realizes that Dagra is still after them, so they are not safe. Later on, while traveling through a forest, Alan encounters the murder glass monster, which is the same monster he faced years ago. The monster remembers Alan, so it begins chasing him. And knowing that escape is impossible, Alan places Cecil in a safe spot as he prepares to fight. He summons his animals to attack, But the monster claps their cheeks and still comes for Alan. The monster grabs him and tries to crush him in his hand as Alan resists and strengthens himself by summoning more creatures. Seeing this, the monster tries to eat his meat as he takes Alan in his mouth. But he is so hard right now that the monster is unable to bite him. As it tries to him, Alan summons a knife and jabs it straight into the monster's eye. This kills the monster as Alan gains a huge number of points. After ensuring Cecil is safe, he decides to continue their journey. But suddenly, Dagra appears again. He attacks them again while showing his speed as Alan struggles to keep up. While both of them are fighting, it seems like Alan is about to lose, but Cecil unexpectedly launches a magic attack to help him. Seeing this, Alan gets angry and fights him again to buy time. Unknown to him that Alan has already sent a pigeon to call for help. Soon enough, Xenoph arrives as Dagra realizes there are genuinely levels to this shit, because Xenoph cuts him in half with a single attack. With all the danger now gone, Alan carries Cecil home, where her father is relieved to see her safe. Alan explains that her kidnapping must be linked to their mine, as the attackers wanted control over it and planned to pressure the family. Her father considers reporting this to the king, but Alan suggests creating a duplicate mining document to start an investigation, which will ensure that the truth is revealed without directly accusing anyone. The Baron agrees to this as he visits the king, and after the investigation, he is cleared of suspicion and even promoted to a higher rank. Later on, Alan and Cecil learn about noble duty as they are shown a map of the continent and told about a demon lord ruling another land. As it turns out, 100 years ago, powerful demons had attacked and slimed several countries. In response, multiple kingdoms ganged up on those demons and established magic academies to train talented individuals. Those with abilities must serve on the front lines for 2 or 3 years, and that is known as noble duty. Cecil realizes her brother died while performing this service, making the topic personal and emotional. After some time, Alan is offered the chance to become an adventurer, which is the Baron's reward to him for saving Cecil and defeating the monster. He offers gold coins and requests that Alan become Cecil's bodyguard. So Alan accepts but asks for certain conditions. He requests that part of the money be used to improve his family's social standing and also help his friend's family. He also asks to be released from duty afterward, and the Baron agrees and gives him a special sword as a token of support, promising that his family will stand behind Alan whenever needed, meaning that Alan is officially a member of the royal family. As the story continues, Alan's tamed parrot, Chappie, is getting fed by Alan's younger brother Mash and little sister Mila. Normally, Chappie carries a letter with it, but this time there is no letter at all. Instead, Alan arrives in person to see his family after getting promoted from being the Granville family's manservant to becoming an honored guest of the house. The moment his name is heard, his parents quickly rush outside, and Alan cannot help smiling as he finally sees them again after such a long time. His mother, Verja, is overjoyed to see how much her son has grown and warmly tells him to eat as much as he likes. Alan is just as happy to see how much Mash and Mila have grown as well. However, when he notices Mila hiding behind their mother's back and asks about it, his father explains that she was only a year old the last time Alan came home, so she naturally sees him as a stranger. The poor big brother is left completely heartbroken since he had been hoping she would already feel close to him after all the times he sent Chappie home to play with her. Just then, his mother brings up the money and letters he has been sending home and asks whether he is earning enough to live himself comfortably. Alan then reveals that he has been promoted to a guest of the Granville household and explains that he will also be attending the academy starting in April. His parents are left stunned by the news, but before they can even process it, Alan pulls out a bag containing 100 gold coins, explaining that it will become difficult to keep sending money home once he starts attending the academy. His parents immediately object, insisting that they do not need the money and that he should keep it for his own expenses at the academy. Alan smiles and tells them that he still has another 600 gold coins saved up, which he earned from selling armored ants. His father's face instantly fills with shock, while his younger brother curiously asks what armored ants even are. Alan explains that they are insect-type monsters found around the foothills of the White Dragon Mountains. Hearing about the dangerous monsters his son has been fighting, the proud father cannot help feeling even prouder, while little Mila quietly listens to the whole conversation. Before long, it is time for Alan to head back since he still has work waiting for him. His younger brother excitedly promises that he will follow him to the academy once he turns 12. Meanwhile, his little sister finally gathers the courage to speak and asks if he is really the big brother from all those letters. After Alan confirms it, she runs over and hugs him tightly, leaving the poor big brother in tears. The entire family shares one last heartfelt hug before our hero finally says goodbye and leaves. As the story moves to the next day, Alan is busy sweeping the courtyard when Cecil suddenly shows up and asks why he quit his job without even asking for her permission. She acts grumpy as usual before finally bringing up what has really been bothering her and asking whether he is truly certain about moving to the Academy City and volunteering for the war. Alan calmly replies that it is simply the duty he was hired to fulfill. Just then, Alan's friends, Krina the Sword Lord and Dagora the Axe User, arrive as they are also preparing to head to the academy. Alan introduces them to the Granville children, and Krina immediately gets excited before enthusiastically shaking Cecil's hand and asking her to become friends. Alan then asks the two if they are ready for the academy entrance exams, when Krina confidently replies that she is ready to take down great boars. Alan reminds her that this is an academic exam and has nothing to do with hunting monsters. Later, the Viscount hosts a lunch for Alan's friends and warmly welcomes them to eat as much as they like. The two quickly show just how civilized they are by finishing most of the meat within seconds, leaving the Viscount laughing at the sight. After they are shown to their room for the night, Krina excitedly wonders what life at the academy will be like and whether there are any dungeons there, while Dagora is already looking forward to joining the knighthood after graduation. Cecil quietly brings up the matter of the war to Alan, but he suggests waiting until the right time before telling them. Alan thinks that Krina will most likely become a baron after qualifying, which would force her to join the war, while Dagora may still have another option available. He also hopes to obtain an appraisal skill soon so he can check his friends' stats and keep track of their growth. The next 3 days pass by in the blink of an eye, and before they know it, it is time to leave for the Academy City. As they arrive near the city, the four look down from above and get excited, imagining just how many dungeons must be scattered around the area. They then board the train heading toward the academy, and during the journey, our hero cannot hide his excitement as he admires the dwarven masterpiece, realizing it looks just like the trains back on Earth. They soon arrive at the academy, where nearly 20,000 applicants have gathered to take the entrance exam. Before anyone is allowed to sit for the test, every candidate is required to undergo an appraisal, just like the one they received when they were 5 years old. Dagora goes first, and although the examiner is impressed by his abilities, his stats are exactly the same as they were during his first appraisal, leaving him wondering whether all of his brutal training had actually been worth it. Seeing this, Alan figures out that the ranks must represent a person's individual growth rate, which explains why they remain unchanged. Cecil is next to take the appraisal, followed by Krina, who receives praise for being a sword lord, and the examiner happily tells her they are glad to have someone like her. Even so, Krina ends up feeling disappointed after seeing that her own stats have also stayed exactly the same. Finally, it is Alan's turn, and the appraisal orb suddenly shines with a brilliant light, making it seem like something extraordinary is about to happen. However, the results show nothing but E ranks across the board, meaning he fails the assessment and is no longer eligible to take the entrance exam. This time, though, his summoner talent is also revealed for everyone to see. Seeing that, our boy is completely caught off guard since that was the one part he never wanted to be fixed. While Alan quietly says he will simply try somewhere else, Cecil immediately protests on his behalf, arguing that he defeated a Mutterglash all by himself. Luckily, the headmaster and the hero Helmios happen to be passing by and decide to see what all the commotion is about. It turns out someone named Master Rosen had already informed them about a prophecy claiming that a boy with E-rank stats would one day arrive. Hearing Helmios' name, all four of them are left wondering what someone that important is doing there. Just then, the hero uses his appraisal skill on Alan and is immediately impressed by his attack stat, especially his intelligence. Instead of feeling happy, our boy gets nervous because he knows the hero probably is not going to keep quiet about what he has seen. After finishing the appraisal, Helmios remarks that Alan's abilities are already on par with those of an archwizard. Although he cannot find any magic skills listed, he agrees to let Alan take the exam, but only on one condition: that he must demonstrate what his summoner talent can actually do. Alan refuses, saying he cannot reveal his ability to a complete stranger, while quietly covering Cecil's face to stop her from blurting everything out. Even after Helmios introduces himself properly, Alan continues playing dumb, claiming he has no idea who he is before asking him to show his own abilities through the crystal ball first. Alan carefully examines the crystal ball and notices that the hero mainly specializes in physical combat. Only then does he finally reveal his own talent, but limits the demonstration to summoning nothing more than a small mouse. The crowd immediately becomes curious, But before anyone can ask him to reveal anything else, Alan quickly runs away, leaving Cecil to scold him for speaking so rudely to the hero. After that, everyone sits for the written examination, and all 4 of them pass successfully, while Krina barely manages to earn a C. Our boy scores an S, leaving Cecil completely jealous since she can only manage an A despite putting in so much effort. Later, Cecil brings up whether they should stay in the academy dormitories, but Alan suggests renting a house instead. Before doing that, however, he points out that they first need to register for adventure cards, so the group heads over to the Adventurers Guild. While their adventurer cards are being prepared, the receptionist explains that dungeons are divided into ranks from D to A, and that the deepest floor always contains a treasure chest guarded by a boss monster. The moment Alan hears that those chests can hold rare items, he gets excited since he already has his eyes on a ring he wants to obtain. After the explanation about how everything works, Alan requests 10,000 D rank magic stones in exchange for 100 gold coins because he plans to stockpile at least 2 million of them during his 3 years at the academy. Afterwards, they receive their E-ranked adventure cards, and it is finally time to register their party. Alan names the group No Life Gamers, a name he has always wanted to use. Everyone immediately approves because it sounds exciting, even though none of them actually knows what the word gamer means. After that, they arrive at the large house they rented. There, Alan finally reveals the secret about the war that he and Cecil had been keeping, and asks his friends if they want to join him in defeating the Demon Lord. Cecil is already excited, while Dagora also agrees, hoping that this might finally be his chance to earn recognition. Just then, our boy's skill book suddenly appears, and this time everyone is able to see it, most likely because they have now become members of his party. The 3 of them guess that it must be part of Alan's summoner talent. The group then starts discussing how they can all become stronger, and Alan brings up the idea of recruiting a healer, preferably a cleric, to complete their party. He also explains that his skills grow 100 times slower than everyone else's, which is why he needs an enormous stockpile of magic stones and MP to clear his trials. Because of that, he tells them that he wants to obtain an MP recovery ring from a dungeon treasure chest. The next day, the 4 attend the academy where the guild master, who is also a sword master, turns out to be their homeroom teacher. Karlova has specifically been invited to teach this year because Krina the Sword Lord has enrolled. He tells the entire class to forget about their social status because, at the academy, only talents matter. Later, the afternoon classes begin, with each session tailored to a student's individual talent. Since there are no classes for summoners, Alan is given permission to spend that time however he wants, so he decides to stroll around and observe the other classes instead. After classes, the group heads over to the dungeon house, which surprisingly looks just like an ordinary building. They enter through the C-ranked dungeon gate, where they are greeted by the dungeon general operation system, which explains that they are about to be transported into another dimension where the dungeon exists. Alan immediately figures it out and excitedly blurts out that they are basically going to be isolated from the server, meaning nobody will be able to see his skills. Everyone notices how excited he suddenly becomes, even though they do not understand a single word of what he is talking about. The party then enters the dungeon, and while everyone else worries that they might end up lost in the maze, Alan calmly brings out his skill book. He summons Hawkins to do the job, and before long the entire floor is completely mapped out. Alan explains that the monsters on this floor are all low-ranked, so he wants to reach the B-ranked area as quickly as possible. He also tells the party to ignore any treasure chests they come across because they are not worth the effort at this dungeon rank and could easily turn out to be traps. He checks everyone's stats before suddenly telling Cecil that there is a slime monster waiting just ahead. Cecil immediately fires a fireball and takes it down in an instant. She gets excited by the easy victory, while the others feel a little discouraged because they cannot use magic themselves. To lift their spirits, our boy reminds them that they each have talents of their own, even if they still have no idea how to use them properly. Alan picks up the E-ranked magic stone and immediately starts rambling about something again, though by now his 3 friends have already gotten used to his habit. They continue clearing toad monsters, and before long all 3 of them gain another level. Soon they arrive at the entrance to the next dungeon floor, where they are given the option of either continuing deeper or ending the expedition for the day. Since they can resume from the same point later, the party decides to call it a day. The days quickly pass, and the team spends every day off making steady progress through the dungeon. To make things even more efficient, Alan keeps multitasking by sending his summoned monsters to farm magic stones while he attends his academy classes. At this pace, he ends up collecting around 200 stones every single day. Before long, the party sets out on its 5th expedition, and this time they finally reach the boss room. The group asks our boy to take the lead because they want to see what his fighting style is actually like. Alan immediately starts rambling again, explaining that he has raised his enhanced skill to level 6 and can now strengthen 2 different attributes at the same time. He quickly summons his monsters, and with Teddy's help, the boss is defeated in no time. After claiming victory, they receive a steel sword from the treasure chest, which they later sell for 2 gold coins, and their party is officially promoted to D rank. The 4 of them get excited about the adventures waiting ahead, while a nerdy-looking boy watches them quietly from a short distance away. The story then moves to the next day at the academy, where Riffle tells Alan about the special class that will be held next month. Apparently, Diverg the Sword Lord will be coming together with the hero. Hearing that the hero is going to be there immediately makes our boy feel a little uneasy. As class begins, the homeroom teacher, Karlova, announces that everyone will be assigned the task of clearing a dungeon during their summer break 3 months from now. He explains that anyone who fails will be expelled from the academy. Karlova then goes over the rules, stating that each party can have no more than 8 members and that they are not allowed to receive help from anyone outside the class. The students become nervous after learning that several students lose their lives during this test every year. Just then, one of the students raises his hand and invites any spear or axe users to join his party. Several other students quickly follow. Since Krina is known for being powerful, she receives invitations from multiple students. Just then, Alan decides to show everyone how party recruitment should really be done. He confidently boasts that his party only needs a healer because they have already cleared 2 C-rank dungeons. He even shows them proof before explaining that they usually enter dungeons twice every week, so anyone who wants to join should be willing to spare at least 1 day each week. To finish his recruitment, he adds that all the rewards are divided equally among every member of the party. After hearing about the rewards and the money they could earn, the nerdy boy from earlier immediately becomes interested in the offer. A little later, during the lunch break, Alan and the rest of his party are enjoying a lavish meal together. Cecil brings up the fact that no one responded to their recruitment offer. Alan explains that most students with cleric talents usually get recruited by the church, so he already expected that finding a healer would not be easy. Just then, Keel, the cleric, walks over and asks about the offer. Alan invites him to join them for lunch, but Keel politely declines, saying that he does not eat during the day. However, Alan doubts that he is actually on a diet and convinces him to sit down by offering to pay for his meal. The new guy immediately starts eating a huge amount of food, making it obvious that he is short on money and has been starving. After satisfying his hunger a little, Keel asks how much he would be paid. Alan explains that they usually earn between 20 and 40 silver coins from each dungeon, making the guy nearly choke on his food. Without wasting another moment, Keel quickly agrees to join the party on a trial basis. Alan happily welcomes him aboard, while Degoro and Krina continue sharing their meal with him. Inside the dungeon, Keel suddenly feels himself becoming stronger after a monster is defeated. Alan explains that he has just leveled up, and because they are all members of the same party, everyone grows stronger whenever a monster is defeated. During their 3rd trip into the dungeon, the boss monster of the final floor finally appears, and Alan immediately instructs the 3 of them to get into position. Cecil starts things off with her flame lance, followed by the other 2. While the 3 stay busy dealing with the goblins, the boss monster launches an attack at the cleric. Seeing him as an easy target, Alan blocks the attack with his summons, impressing Keel. Before long, the team defeats the monster, with Krina landing the final blow. Degoro gets slightly injured after getting distracted while trying to use his skill. Keel casts a healing spell and treats the wound in no time. Alan regrets not being able to check the boy's stats since he is only joined as a guest for now. When Alan asks the new guy where he learned healing magic, he explains that he practiced it at the church since they paid 10 silver coins a day, so he did not want to miss the opportunity. Krina admits she is jealous because she still cannot use spells. Keel replies that it took him 2 months to master healing magic. Just then, a silver chest appears, and Keel can hardly contain his excitement. The newbie rushes over to it and finds a mithril buckler inside, which the team later sells for 15 gold coins. Keel immediately becomes nervous, wondering if he will really receive an equal share. Alan quickly hands him his portion while explaining that he can also sell the magic stones for extra money. Watching him get so excited over the payment, Alan wonders why the boy cares more about earning money than preparing for their summer break assignment. Even so, Alan does not mind as long as he can convince him to join the party. He then asks Keel to become a permanent member, explaining that they all live together in a rented house and that he is welcome to move in as well. Everyone else also wants him to join, but the cleric turns down the offer because he wants the freedom to work with other parties that might pay him more, especially since clerics are in short supply at the academy. Alan wonders why the boy wants to work as a freelancer just to earn unlimited money. A month passes by, and one night Alan suddenly jumps out of his room in excitement, announcing that he is heading out to practice. Apparently, he has reached the next milestone, allowing him to summon new monsters while also unlocking a new skill called Awaken. He is thrilled because it has been over 2 years since he last summoned any new monsters. This time, he summons creatures that look like a boar, an ostrich, a scorpion, and a shark, along with a knight named Stelly. He even ends up summoning a tiny vegetable. After that, he merges 2 of his C-rank summons and obtains his final summon, a supernatural spirit. The moment she appears, the cute little spirit immediately starts talking. Alan realizes that it must be because of her high intelligence. When she asks him to give her a name, Alan names her Maria, which she absolutely loves. The spirit can even pass through walls and asks our boy if he wants her to haunt someone in their dreams, but Alan rejects the idea. He then tests his new skill, Awaken, on his grasshopper Denka. Denka gains a swarm skill, which ends up summoning a huge number of insects throughout the dungeon. Seeing all of them, Alan is relieved that he did not test the skill back at the house. The story then shifts to the day of the special lecture. The Sword Lord Diverg, Lady Sylvia, and even the hero Helios arrive at the academy. Just as the students are given a chance to ask questions, Cecil asks how she can learn skills. Karlova quietly mentions that it is part of next year's curriculum. But Diverg becomes interested in the future Sword Lord and takes her away for some training after learning that she wants to become stronger like her friend Alan. Krina gives it her best, but every one of her attacks is easily deflected. She continues trying with everything she has and keeps training until evening. By then, Helios and Sylvia have already finished training with the rest of the students. Helios offers our boy a chance to spar with him, but Alan bluntly refuses. Instead, he keeps watching the old man Diverg and becomes slightly annoyed because he feels that the Sword Lord has not given Krina any proper advice apart from telling her to clear her mind and think about the skill. When Diverg finally tells her to call it a day, Krina refuses to be left behind and shares how much Alan inspires her. She cries out that she wants to become stronger, upon which the old man tells her to come at him with everything she has. The girl staggers forward, and this time she finally manages to use Slash, nearly breaking Diverg's practice sword. After seeing herself succeed, she immediately passes out. Hero Helios complains to the Sword Lord that he should have taught the girl by setting an example, but Diverg argues that he felt she was better suited to learning it through experience. Even he is impressed that she managed to learn the skill in a single day. After Krina is treated with potions, she instantly gets back up like a robot and goes to thank the old man. Meanwhile, the hero asks our boy about his biggest dream, but Alan refuses to answer until he is convinced that Helios can be trusted. The next time they enter the dungeon, Alan introduces Maria to the party, leaving everyone excited. He then summons the new ostrich monster for everyone to ride, greatly increasing the party's traveling speed. When Krina uses her newly learned Slash skill to defeat a monster, Dogora cannot help feeling jealous. Later, the whole party comes out of the Adventurers Guild holding their C-rank cards. When Alan suggests throwing a celebration, Keel refuses, saying that it would make him feel guilty celebrating while his family is barely able to make ends meet. After learning how difficult his family's situation is, the party suggests that Keel bring his family to live with them so they can split their shares into 6 parts, with 1 share going to them in return for helping clean the house. The party also tells Keel that he will have to give his magic stone share to Alan because, unlike the rest of them, he needs a large number of magic stones to pass his trial. After some convincing, the cleric finally agrees to bring his family over. That night, when Alan and the others open the door after hearing the bell, they find a whole group of people standing alongside Keel, but his parents are nowhere to be seen. Keel's sister, Nina, politely introduces herself almost like royalty. As soon as they arrive, the party prepares a meal for everyone. While Alan wonders why Keel's name never appeared in his grimoire, Cecil discovers that Keel and his sister were actually members of the nobility. Apparently, the poor siblings had their titles stripped away and are now living together with their servants, who also had nowhere else to go. Cecil apologizes for bringing it up, but Keel explains that he has already gotten used to living like a commoner. To help him feel more comfortable, Alan reveals that both he and Krina rose up from serfdom, which the newcomers find difficult to believe. However, Keel's servants immediately stand up in respect after learning that Cecil is actually a noble. The conversation continues smoothly until Keel finds out that Cecil is a Granvelle. The revelation disgusts him, and he suddenly bursts into anger because he belongs to the Carnal family, which was destroyed because of the Granvelle. The boy lashes out, saying that a royal messenger had told him everything, and that the Granvelles were responsible for his family's downfall. Cecil tries to calm him down and asks everyone else to leave so she can speak with him in private. She then explains everything, including how his father, Viscount Carnal, tried to steal the Granvelle fiefdom's mithril mining rights and even had her kidnapped, from which she only managed to escape safely because Alan, who was her manservant at the time, rescued her. After hearing about all of his father's crimes, including the assassins and the kidnapping, the boy becomes deeply ashamed. When Alan asks about his father, Keel explains that ever since he awakened his talent, his father sent him away to live separately. He only received a small allowance and barely managed to survive until his father finally sent him a tutor when he turned 10 to prepare him for the academy. He had convinced himself that this was simply something he needed to do for the Carnal family, and believed that he was still a part of them. He goes on to explain that last October his allowance stopped completely, and Nina came to live with him along with the servants, which is why he had to start working just to make ends meet for everyone. A royal messenger later visited him and misled him into believing that the Carnal family had been destroyed by the Granvelles. He was told that he had to fulfill his noble duty by serving for 5 years so he could restore his family and become its new head. Hearing all of this, Alan realizes that there are still people secretly plotting behind the scenes. Keel admits that he would not even mind getting kicked out of the house because all he wants is to make sure his family has a place to call home again by restoring their title. Alan tells the boy that doing so would eventually mean going to war, where countless people lose their lives. Krina then brings up her brother, who died not long ago. Alan follows by explaining the truth about the demon lord behind the monsters and invites Keel to fight alongside them. At first, Keel stays focused only on his own goal, but Krina and the others gradually convince him to join them so they can all fight together and one day become nobles. The moment the boy truly accepts the party as his friends from the bottom of his heart, tears begin rolling down his face, and Alan's grimoire registers his name as a new member of the party. The next day, Keel's servants bring in all of their luggage. Maria appears in front of them, and before anyone can ask about her, Keel quickly explains that she is part of Alan's talent. Meanwhile, Alan keeps thinking about how a royal messenger promised Keel that his family's nobility would be restored. Finding the whole situation sus, he decides to investigate it further. A while later, the new party, now with Keel as a permanent member, enters a B-ranked dungeon for the very first time. The inside of the dungeon looks almost the same as the previous ones, although Cecil explains that this one contains poison and arrow traps, and the monsters are much stronger. She suggests that everyone drink a panacea potion, even though it tastes terrible, but Alan decides to skip it. Once they finish preparing, Alan summons his ostriches, Fran, to speed up the group's travel. Before long, they arrive in front of a treasure chest, which Keel immediately rushes toward, only for Cecil to stop him at the last second, because it is obviously a trap. Alan sends Maria to inspect it, and the moment she opens the chest, it transforms into a mimic. Alan quickly tells Maria to use psychokinesis, and the spirit unleashes multiple attacks, defeating the B-ranked monster while using only half of her MP. After the mimic is defeated, it leaves behind the real treasure, rewarding the party with a mithril halberd, which Alan believes can be sold for around 50 gold coins. As they continue moving deeper into the dungeon, a sleep trap gets triggered, causing Alan to lose consciousness. When he finally wakes up, Cecil scolds him, saying that he should have taken the panacea potion when she told him to. However, it turns out that Alan deliberately chose not to drink it. The boy wants to investigate the trap himself and asks Maria to help him. Seeing him talking to himself once again, the rest of the team realizes they are going to be stuck there for a while. So Dogora decides to ask Krina to help him with his training. Alan asks Maria how the trap was activated, and she explains that even the Frans were affected by the sleep trap. She also tells him that she used a garnish to wake him up, which only took a few seconds to work. Alan remembers that this item was created by his vegetable summon, Mappo, and deliberately triggers the trap once again. He discovers that the trap has a radius of 5 meters, and since he does not pass out the second time, he concludes that the garnish's effect lasts much longer. He then repeatedly activates the trap while testing it on his summons, and eventually finds that it has no effect on his grass or spirit-type monsters. From this, he concludes that the garnish must be a status recovery item. He explains all of his findings to the team, although most of them remain as confused as ever. Meanwhile, Dogora finally succeeds in using his skill and bursts into excitement. As the story progresses, the team spends nearly 2 months exploring the dungeon on weekends before finally reaching the last floor of the B-ranked dungeon. The door opens, and they find themselves facing a huge boar that looks like a far more terrifying version of the Great Boar. However, Alan is not worried at all since his teammates have all increased their levels by a huge amount. He even starts worrying that they might surpass him if they keep growing at this pace. Keel casts High Protect on everyone, followed by Cecil's Flame Lance, which wipes out 3 boars at once. Alan then summons his teddies and orders them to use their once-per-day awakened skill, Devour. After that, Krina and Dogora unleash their own skills, with Krina delivering the finishing blow to the huge boar, rewarding every member of the party with a massive 24,000 experience points. Once the battle is over, Alan praises Krina for her impressive skill, and Keel follows up by casting High Heal on the entire team. Just then, a treasure chest appears, and Keel immediately rushes toward it, getting excited when he sees that it is a silver chest. Inside, they discover Scarletite Knuckles, which Alan believes could sell for a couple hundred gold coins on the market. Hearing that, Keel's face lights up, making Alan realize that no matter how much Keel claims he is doing this for his family, he genuinely seems to love money. Cecil completely agrees and even jokes that he looks more like a preacher of money than a servant of the church. Alan feels satisfied with the victory and starts thinking about the potential of people who are progressing in normal mode instead of using a system like his. He wonders that if these people are still struggling against the Demon Lord, then the monsters they will face in the future must be far stronger. Because of that, he becomes determined to make sure everyone in his party reaches an even higher level before graduation. In the next month, Alan sends his summons into the dungeon as usual and farms over 30,000 C-rank magic stones along with more than 400 gold coins. He uses those C-rank magic stones to request 300,000 D-rank magic stones. But the guild receptionist worriedly tells him that the monthly request limit is only 50,000 and that he will have to wait until next month. After that, Alan and his team buy themselves new equipment along with a horse cart to make their travels easier. They also get a magic-operated clock that works inside the dungeon and helps them keep track of time. Soon, the semester at the academy comes to an end, and they have to take their exams. Luckily, the whole team passes with flying colors. During the summer break, Alan sends his bird summon to greet his parents. This time, with his improved skills, he uses his bird summon, Papo, to talk with his family and surprises them. Alan finds Mr. Jerda at his parents' house and greets him as well. Mash walks over to greet his brother and gets praised for working so hard. Alan tells him that he has sent him a letter and also tells Mr. Jerda that Krina and Dogora have sent letters. Jerda admits that he cannot read, so Alan tells him that he will read them to him later. Just then, Alan's sister sadly says that she did not receive any talent. To cheer her up, Alan tells her that she is now just like their parents, which immediately makes her smile. Alan's father then shares the good news that he is going to become the chieftain of the new frontier village. The boy gets excited and congratulates him on the promotion. He jokingly tells his father to learn how to read and write so he can become an even better chieftain and not embarrass his family. Next, Alan sends his bird to Butler von Granville's mansion to discuss Kiel Carnal and hopefully get some answers. He tells the butler how they are studying together and even exploring dungeons as teammates, which eases the Viscount's concerns. Alan then brings up the royal messenger and asks if he knows anything about it. The Viscount explains that while restoring the Carnal family to nobility might be possible, the whole offer sounds like a scam because Kiel possesses the talent of a cleric. Unfortunately, clerics are heavily exploited and forced to remain on the front lines, even after their 5-year service ends. To make up for the shortage of clerics, the nobles even rely on the elves of Rosenheim, making people with healing talents incredibly valuable. He believes Kiel's father likely saw his own son as nothing more than a tool, which explains why he sent him away. Hearing all of this leaves Alan furious as he starts wondering what the royal messenger hopes to gain from all of this. He suspects that someone else might be pulling the strings from the shadows and vows that no one will ever be allowed to exploit Keel. When Alan insists that he will ask the king about it himself, Viscount Granville stops him and asks him to leave the matter to him instead. He argues that since the royal messenger has misused his name for such dirty schemes, he has no intention of letting it slide. Alan thanks the Viscount before taking his leave. Soon afterward, Alan's party conquers their third B-ranked dungeon and receives their upgraded adventurer cards, officially becoming B-ranked adventurers. Everyone at the guild is amazed to see academy students reaching a rank higher than many experienced adventurers. The counter lady realizes that Alan's party will likely challenge the A-ranked dungeon next and warns them to be careful since it is filled with deadly traps unlike the previous dungeon, and the boss on the final floor is an extremely dangerous opponent. She also recommends buying better equipment and participating in the upcoming auctions. Hearing that, Alan excitedly asks if an MP recovery ring might appear at the auction. But his excitement quickly fades when the counter lady says she has never seen such an item before. Soon, the team enters the A-ranked dungeon and remains inside for over 4 days. As the story moves forward, Alan wakes up after his teammates, who are already on their feet. He had sent Hawkins to scout the area while everyone was asleep, but unfortunately they still have not found any sign of the final floor. Dogora complains that he is tired of camping and just wants to go back home already. Alan then asks Maria if they were attacked during the night, and she casually tells him that only a few monsters showed up, all of which she dealt with herself. They then resume their journey and soon come across 2 orc kings and a cyclops blocking their path. Krina and Dogora charge ahead and quickly take down the orc kings while Cecil focuses her attacks on the cyclops. Just as Dogora finishes off his opponent, the cyclops strikes him, causing him to stumble onto a teleportation trap. Both Dogora and Cecil are instantly teleported away. Alan gets worried and quickly creates as many Maria cards as possible. He equips each one with healing items and sends them in different directions to search for the missing pair. Meanwhile, Dogora and Cecil struggle against a group of high-level monsters. They launch attack after attack, but none of them are strong enough to even slow the monsters down. Before long, Dogora uses his last healing item, and Cecil runs out of hers as well. Just as the two close their eyes and prepare for the worst, one of Alan's Marias finds them and saves them with her abilities. Just as the pair recover, 2 giant boars charge toward them, forcing Dogora and Cecil to get back on their feet and continue fighting. Meanwhile, Alan is already rushing toward them and tells the party to hold on as he activates Fleetfoot, making his ostriches sprint at incredible speed. Even then, he struggles to reach them because of the complicated layout of the A-ranked dungeon, and can only hope the two are still safe. Back with Dogora and Cecil, they now find themselves facing an even stronger high-level monster. Dogora barely manages to block the attack from the massive B-ranked monster and ends up covered in blood. Just in the nick of time, Alan arrives and summons his scorpion, which immediately poisons the monster. Cecil is overjoyed to see Alan, and with his support, Dogora finishes off the monster. While Alan points out that they might need to recruit a scout in the future, the others quickly rush over to support their injured teammates and heal their wounds. A little later, the party finally reaches the dungeon boss, who as expected turns out to be a massive A-ranked armored type monster. While Dogora worries that their attacks might not even leave a scratch on it, Alan lifts everyone's spirits by explaining that defeating an armored type monster would prove they are capable of taking down any A-ranked monster. He assures them that their levels are already high enough, so there is nothing to be worried about. Alan then prepares for the battle by switching his cards and adjusting their abilities to match the boss monster. He takes the lead and summons multiple Wallies above the A-ranked boss along with its guard monsters. As the Wallies come crashing down, Alan activates their self-destructibility, making the explosion look just like Cecil's meteor spell. The attack wipes out every B-ranked monster, leaving only the boss behind. Krina and Dogora immediately charge in, but unfortunately Krina is struck by the boss monster. Everyone is shocked, but fortunately the Sword Lord blocks the monster's attack with her sword at the last moment and even pushes its massive fist away with her own strength. Keel quickly casts heal on Krina, while Dogora charges in with another attack, followed by Krina using her Pyroblast ability. Alan then sends out the Marias to join the assault, and Cecil follows up with her Flame Lance. With all of their abilities combined, the team successfully defeats the monster and clears an A-ranked dungeon. Alan harvests the A-ranked magic stone and gets excited by its enormous size. Meanwhile, the money-obsessed Keel has his eyes fixed on the treasure chest, which unfortunately appears to be nothing more than a wooden one. However, when the team opens it, they discover a scarletite axe inside, allowing Dogora to replace his old mithril axes. Alan lets out a sigh as he wonders if the front lines are filled with monsters like this, hoping to make his team even stronger before they get there. Just then, the dungeon system congratulates the party and awards them a certificate of success, giving them the right to challenge an S-ranked dungeon once they manage to clear a total of 5 A-ranked dungeons. The team feels both excited and nervous at the same time as they wonder just how powerful S-ranked monsters must be. A few days later, the summer break comes to an end. Alan turns 13, and everyone returns to the academy. The students thank Alan for the advice that helped them clear C-ranked dungeons. When one of the students mentions that Alan's party has conquered an A-ranked dungeon, the entire class is left stunned since even their seniors struggle to accomplish something like that. Krina challenges Alan to a spar, but their homeroom teacher and guildmaster Karlova calls her away instead. Meanwhile, Rifal shows up and gets Alan to spar with him. While the two are sparring, their match is cut short when a broken blade flies over from the battle between Karlova and Krina. The Sword Lord is evenly matched against the guildmaster, and even earns praise from him. Afterwards, Krina and Alan are taken to meet the headmaster. On the way there, Karlova asks the two if they are planning to challenge an S-ranked dungeon. Alan replies that there are only 4 A-ranked dungeons in the city, meaning they would have to find one more somewhere else. The guildmaster reveals that the farthest he ever reached was clearing 3 A-ranked dungeons, and that no one in the entire kingdom has been able to challenge an S-ranked dungeon since Lord Diverg several decades ago. They soon arrive at the headmaster's office, where they meet an elf who is over 1,000 years old and has also served as the city's administrator for a very long time. He gets straight to the point and says that he wants the 2 kids to participate in the school's martial arts tournament. When Alan tries to decline the invitation, explaining that the tournament only allows skills and forbids magic, the headmaster tells him that it would give him a chance to face the Sword Lord. Alan still refuses, and after seeing how persistent he is, the headmaster decides to select only Krina for the tournament. Later, with just 1 day left before the tournament begins, Cecil's father visits the anxious Kiel and his sister Nina for a talk. Count Granvelle explains that he spoke with the king about the future of the Carnal family, but unfortunately the king never promised to restore their noble status. The count then reveals the main reason he came here along with the boy, Rifal. He explains that he has brought a contract for Kiel that would restore the Carnal family to respectable social standing, as long as Kiel serves 5 years in the war or makes significant contributions. He also mentions that both his family and the Hamilton family have already signed it. Rifal then steps forward and introduces himself as the son of the Hamilton family, the liege lord of both the Granvelle and Carnal families. When Nina asks what being a liege lord means, Alan explains that it means his family is responsible for overseeing both vassal families. Rifal assures the Carnal siblings that they have his full support. In response, Kiel nervously asks the Count why they are being so kind to them. The Count explains that he is a noble, and it is his duty to honor social contracts, which is why he is doing this. He then brings up an even more serious matter. Granvelle reveals that the royal messenger involved in the Carnal incident turned out to be a puppet of Crown Prince Invel von Ratash, who is expected to inherit the throne within the next 5 years because the king's health is already declining. Unfortunately, they cannot find any evidence directly linking the Crown Prince to the scheme, leaving the king with no choice but to let him go unpunished. He adds that he is worried the prince may enforce the contract once he ascends the throne, then asks Kiel if he is still willing to sign it. Seeing how much the Count and the Hamilton family have done for him, Kiel promises not to let them down and vows to fulfill his duty as the head of the Carnal family. Before leaving, the Count tells Krina to give it her best in tomorrow's tournament. The next day, the Viscount points toward a chamber where the Crown Prince is seated so Alan knows exactly who he was talking about. Before long, Krina wins the tournament and earns the right to face Diverg. Dogora grows worried as he remembers the special class where they met the Sword Lord and just how overwhelming his strength was. As Krina stands before the legendary swordsman, Diverg boasts about defeating demons and fiends before telling her to come at him with everything she has. Krina holds nothing back and opens with Slash, followed by her thunderous blow. However, the legendary warrior easily blocks both attacks. Diverg then launches a counterattack that sends Krina flying across the arena. He asks if that is all she has, prompting the girl to go on a relentless offensive. The two charge at each other for one final clash. but Krina is injured during the exchange and collapses unconscious. Diverg tells the girl to grow stronger because her friends are counting on her. Later, when her friends rush over, they quickly heal her injuries. They do their best to comfort her, while Viscount Granvelle watches them from a distance. Krina cries because she still lost despite giving everything she had, but Alan manages to lift her spirits by reminding her that she has tremendous potential and that she can defeat Diverg the next time they meet. Just then, Granvelle notices the Crown Prince approaching while clapping, and he suddenly becomes anxious. The troublesome Crown Prince calls the Viscount over for a chat and tells him to take a seat. The Viscount hesitates, upon which Alan steps forward and offers him a chair. The Crown Prince objects a little to allowing a mere servant to join them, but he does not make much of it. After the Viscount sits down, the prince starts talking about how well his domain is doing now that it has produced a sword lord and even regained the mining rights. He then playfully blames the Viscount for putting the new contract in place to restore the Carnal family and warns him to make the king revoke it. He argues that if Granvelle refuses, he will dispatch his daughter as reinforcement for the war. That threat immediately sends a chill down the Viscount's spine. Hearing all the political talk, Alan realizes that there are people who genuinely want to win the war, while others only care about strengthening their own position by using the fewest resources possible. He also remembers what the Viscount told him about clerics being exploited, which clearly applies here because the Crown Prince is definitely after Kiel and therefore wants the contract nullified. Lord Granvelle makes a difficult decision and firmly states that he cannot take the contract back. Seeing how troubled he is, Alan steps in and argues that this is a golden opportunity to reap the rewards of battle. He introduces himself to Crown Prince Envel as the leader of the party that includes Cecil and Krina, then explains that he has been entrusted with the duty of protecting Lady Cecil. Granvelle then tells the prince that they will gladly follow his orders and send his daughter for the sake of the country. The story then shifts to 3 months later, where our party is repeatedly clearing a ranked dungeon and once again challenging the boss monster. This marks their 76th run, and this time they are up against the heavy dragon, by far the strongest boss monster in the dungeon. The mere sight of the monster sends chills through everyone, but Alan, as always, tells the team to stay strong because they are going to beat it. He plans to use a defensive strategy with Steely to counter the dragon's fire breath and starts the battle with his old unofficial Meteor Wally attack, which he now renames Wally Blaster. The attack seems to work for a moment, but the monster turns out to be completely unharmed and even starts talking, mocking the puny humans for daring to challenge it. While the monster is busy trash talking, Alan throws another Wally Blaster, but it fails once again and only enrages the dragon. Krina and Dagora rush in to attack, but its scales prove to be harder than steel. When the dragon unleashes its fire breath, Alan immediately warns everyone and shields them with Steely by sacrificing them through their skill. The dragon is impressed and calls it a strange spell. Meanwhile, Dagora and the others are drenched in sweat from the scorching heat, wondering how they would have been roasted alive if Alan had not protected them. The party then tries to overwhelm the dragon with a barrage of attacks, but the monster begins charging up an even stronger and more terrifying fire breath. The battle soon reaches the point where Alan can no longer keep up with his summons, and the fire breath strikes Krina and Dagora. They survive the attack, but they lose their friend. The dragon launches another attack, and everyone starts worrying that they are about to lose. Just then, Krina suddenly leaps forward and slices off one of the dragon's arms. It turns out that her extra skill has somehow activated. The skill is called Limit Break, and it raises all of her stats by a massive 3,000 points each. Krina suddenly becomes incredibly powerful, and Dagora remembers that Cecil had managed to activate the same skill once during their childhood. Krina also gains an extremely high HP recovery effect, and finally defeats the monster by driving her sword straight through its chest. Sometime later, Krina defeats a high-ranked monster, which causes her to level up. Although leveling up is good for her, she feels sad, since she has now hit the level cap. It's not just her. In just a single year, everyone in their party except Alan has reached the level cap of 60. He thinks that this is because of the Demon Lord's awakening. Since the Demon Lord is about to appear, the dungeons have been filled with stronger monsters, which allowed them all to level up so quickly. Dagora feels worried that they've already hit the limit of their strength, but Alan reminds him that they can grow stronger in other ways. Even if they've stopped gaining experience, they can still train their extra skills and explore dungeons to obtain more powerful equipment. Still, Cecil thinks that it won't be as fun to explore dungeons without leveling up. To encourage her to keep training, Alan suggests that there must be a way to increase the level cap. Right now, they still have 2 years before the war against the Demon Lord, so they need to do their best to find a way to break through their limits. Later, as the next year of school begins, Karlova introduces his class to some new transfer students. These students are 2 elves and a dwarf, clearly arriving from foreign nations. First, the female elf student steps forward and introduces herself as a high elf called Sophie. Next to her, the elf boy introduces herself as Volmar, revealing that Sophie is actually an elven princess and he's her bodyguard. Hearing that she's a princess, the entire class gets excited. Meanwhile, as Sophie looks at all the students, she blushes when her gaze lands on Alan. Seeing her reaction, Alan thinks that the white-haired girl must be making fun of his black hair. Then, the dwarf girl confidently introduces herself as Mel. After the introductions are done, Karlova tells Alan to accept the new students in his party since he only has 5 members. Though he's surprised, he accepts his teacher's suggestion. At lunch, he informs the transfer students that his party explores dungeons daily. Alan wonders if they'll be okay with such a packed schedule, so Sophie eagerly agrees. She reveals her own talent as a spirit mage, and Volmar's an archer. Mel chimes in, explaining that she has a super rare talent of her own called Talos General. Hearing this, Alan remains silent since he has never even heard of these classes before. However, Mel feels a bit sad, saying that her rare class isn't very useful most of the time. Despite this, she is determined to get as strong as she can for the upcoming war. Krina smiles and says the party will support her in her efforts. Since the transfer students don't have a problem with their party's routine, Alan welcomes them to no-life gamers. Later, Alan encounters Headmaster Theodosier in the school halls, although the headmaster is a high elf himself. He reminds Alan that his rank is nowhere near Sophie's. As her elder, he is worried for her future. Even though Sophie has Volmar as a guard, he asks Alan to take extra care of her as the party leader, so he nods. A few days later, the new party members move into Alan's house. At the lunch table, everyone discusses their own background. Sophie reveals that the elves follow Lord Rosen, who is the sovereign of spirits. Mel follows Lord de Gragny, who is the master of all dungeons. Aside from his dungeons, the dwarves use de Gragny's creations as inspiration to create useful magic tools. Hearing this, Alan wonders if the magic cubes were dwarven tech as well. Changing the topic, Dagora asks the newcomers if they need their help to explore a B-ranked dungeon. Alan shakes his head, explaining that they need to conquer some A-ranked dungeons first. However, since the newbies need their help, he'll split their party in 2. Alan and Dagora will explore the B-ranked dungeons with the newbies, while Cecil, Keel, and Krina will grind A-ranked dungeons on their own to help them survive the dangers of an A-ranked dungeon. Alan will send some of his summons with them. Hearing this, Mel gets confused, since she has never heard of summons before. The next day, the new party members get registered at the guild and view their personal stats in Alan's grimoire. Although the new members are excited to see their stats, Dagora is more surprised that Volmar is 67 years old and Sophie is 48. Sophie laughs and tells him not to mind their ages since elves have long lifespans. Then, Alan calls a squad of Marias and Frans for transportation. Excited, the new party members quickly climb on top of their new rides. After some time, they encounter a massive spider monster in a hallway. Unfortunately, Mel is too weak to defeat it, so Volmar uses his strongbow skill to kill the spider in one shot. Concerned, Alan checks on Mel. Even though she seems fine, Sophie uses her spirit magic to heal her wounds. Mel thanks her for the help, feeling frustrated that she can't do anything against the monsters. Usually, her Talos General talent allows her to kill even dragons on her own, but only if she rides a golem into battle. Hearing this, Volmar explains that dwarven golems are the reason why their nation can resist the demon lord. Alan nods, realizing that Mel can't use her full strength in a foreign nation to avoid exposing her nation's most prized secrets. After a while, they stop to rest. While resting, Alan wonders why Sophie addresses him in a formal tone. She explains that Lord Rosen named him in a prophecy, which is why she respects him so much. For a long time, Rosen had been slumbering in his domain. However, recently, he started mumbling in his sleep about some black-haired youth who would be born with extremely low stats. Hearing this, Alan points out that Rosen was just babbling in his sleep. Sophie interrupts him, confidently insisting that Rosen's words were a prophecy. Aside from predicting Alan's birth, Rosen also claimed that this black-haired youth would tower over the demons and bring light to their world. Even after hearing Sophie's heartfelt words, Alan thinks the old man Rosen must have forgotten his meds. A few months later, the team has gained lots of levels from their training. Now, Sophie is strong enough to use her extra skill, Great Elemental, which allows her to summon a powerful spirit. This skill summons Gnome, a powerful earth spirit. As he appears, Sophie orders him to destroy the evil monster in front of her. In an instant, Gnome traps the monster with a formation of rocks before crushing it to bits. After defeating the evil monster, Sophie casually turns around and thanks the party for helping her level up. Dagora is extremely impressed by her extra skill, so she tells him that Volmar also has one. He tells everyone that he'll only use his extra skill if Sophie's life is in danger, while Mel reminds them that she just needs a golem to use hers. As the days pass, the newbies defeat some B-ranked dungeons on their own, while Krina and the others beat an A-ranked dungeon as well. A few days before summer break, the headmaster summons both Krina and Alan for a meeting. As they arrive for the meeting, they are greeted by Helmios, who is also present for some reason. Once everyone is seated, the headmaster explains that he's holding a martial arts tournament soon, so he would like Krina and Alan to enter. In an instant, Krina agrees to join, but Alan declines. He simply explains that he doesn't want to show his hidden skills to such a large audience. At this, Theodosier asks Alan if he has heard of Rosen's prophecies. Alan nods, saying that he definitely heard about the old man's ramblings. As he says this, Helmios starts laughing while Theodosier warns him for his language. Then, he points out that if Alan will play a crucial role in defeating the Demon Lord, the school needs to see the extent of his skills. At his words, Alan narrows his eyes, but he already has a retort. He points out that if news spreads about his role against the Demon Lord, the Demon Lord could take action against him in advance. Thus, it makes more sense for him to avoid the tournament and keep a low profile. This time, the headmaster cannot argue against his logic. Suddenly, Helmios lets a ring slip from his hand and land on the ground. As it hits the ground, he starts speaking loudly, acting as if he dropped the extremely precious MP ring by accident. Even if his actions are less than subtle, Krina knows that Alan has been looking for this ring for a while. Helmios picks it up, revealing that Rosen specially crafted it for him. He starts taunting Alan, knowing that he wants the ring as well. To tease him even further, Helmios tells him that MP rings can't be found in dungeons, so he can search for them as much as he wants. Alan doesn't believe him at first, so Helmios explains that the Master of Dungeons personally confirmed this. Hearing this, Alan sighs and wonders why he's taunting him so much. Helmios explains that this year's tournament will be special, since the runner-up will get to fight Lord Diverg, and the finalist will go up against Helmios himself. If Alan can win against him, Helmios promises to give the MP ring to him. Interested, Alan asks to take a closer look at this ring. As he puts it on, he notices that the ring is restoring his mana at a rate of 1% per second. Obviously, a summoner like him desperately needs this fast recovery, so he finally agrees to participate in the tournament. Then, he asks Helmios if he's allowed to use items in the tournament. After learning that he can, he makes a mental note to stock up on healing items. Afterward, for 2 whole months, Alan makes his preparations to fight against Helmios. He goes around towns, gathering as many magic stones as he can to strengthen his summons. Meanwhile, the rest of the party challenges their 5th A-ranked dungeon to unlock their first S-ranked fight. After 1,000,000 E and D ranked stones and 100,000 C ranked magic stones, Alan finally reaches summon level 7, which unlocks a new batch of B-ranked summons. After 2 months, he has become 14 years old. The day before the tournament, the whole party regroups. After learning that the party has successfully beaten their 5th A-ranked dungeon, Alan reveals that he defeated an A-ranked dungeon all on his own. Hearing this, Krina is surprised, wondering if the gap between her and Alan has grown so much. However, he then turns around, saying that he's going to get even in the tournament, so she smiles and challenges him to bring it on. Later, during Alan and Krina's match, both of them fight on an even footing. After trading some normal blows, Krina unleashes an air/skill. Though Alan manages to block it, she follows the attack with a limit break skill to end the match. Unfortunately, Krina still hasn't mastered her extra skill, so it fails to activate. Refusing to give up, she keeps slashing at him again and again. Alan grits his teeth, wanting to get even with her for their childhood match. As she unleashes a slash skill, he dodges and tries to summon a monster. However, Krina doesn't give him the time. She hits him with a point-blank pyro blast, a skill strong enough to kill an A-ranked boss. Watching this scene, the audience is horrified. As he steps back with the flaming wound on his chest, even Krina gets worried that she went too far. Suddenly, Alan rebounds towards her, pointing his sword straight at her neck. He grins, revealing that his injury was completely fake. As he taunts her for lowering her guard, Krina grits her teeth in frustration, but eventually admits defeat. In the audience, everyone wonders how Alan survived her pyro blast without a summon. Keel thinks that he did summon something, but somehow managed to conceal it from them. Krina also asks Alan how he blocked her attack, so he apologizes for keeping it a secret. Then, as they return to the stands, he notes that Krina is feeling depressed. He reminds her that she still needs to face the legendary Sword Lord Diverg. Hearing this, Krina gets even sadder. Thinking that the old man has been stuck at level 60 all these years, suddenly, Alan headbutts her, reminding her that he'll do his best to help her break the level cap. For now, he just wants her to focus on the fight ahead of her. With his encouragement, Krina finally gets ready to face Diverg. In the stadium, Diverg takes his stance, facing Krina with the respect of a warrior. In the audience, Alan thinks she can pull the win by using his agility rings and her extra skill. Unfortunately, Krina is still unable to use Limit Break. Instead of giving up, she charges at Diverg with a thunderous blow. He blocks the powerful attack before parrying her next blow with a slash skill. While grappling, Diverg admits that Krina has become much stronger. However, he then knocks her away with an elbow, proving his superior strength. Krina quickly uses a healing spell to recover, but Diverg knocks her to the ground with an Earth Dragon Blast. As she struggles to get up, he taunts her to do better or else she'll become demon food in the war. Hearing this, Krina gets enraged. The intense emotion allows her to successfully use Limit Break. With the stat boost from Limit Break, she attacks Diverg with blazing fast speed. This time, he gets sent back even after blocking her attack. Krina continues to attack, unleashing a relentless barrage of boosted sword strikes, unable to withstand her power. Diverg gets knocked to the ground. Watching this, the audience is stunned to see the old sword lord defeated by a young girl. Even Diverg himself is unable to believe this. In his moment of desperation, he refuses to give up. This desperation gives him a second wind, allowing him to use his own extra skill. As Krina rushes to finish him off, she is shocked as he brings down the ultimate skill, Guard Break, right on top of her. As she blocks the attack, a shattering sound echoes in the stadium. Diverg lifts up his sword into the air and brings it down with immense force, almost crushing Krina in the process. Before things can get ugly, the hero Helmios steps in and blocks Diverg's attack with his own sword. He can't believe that the old man lost control while fighting a little girl. Once Diverg realizes that he really did almost kill Krina just because of some trivial competition, he becomes a lot more remorseful. Instead of continuing the fight, Diverg falls to the ground and admits defeat. He even gives Krina his massive sword as a form of apology. As Diverg leaves the arena, Krina is declared the winner, but this victory does not feel well earned to her. Now the time has arrived for Alan and Helmios to confront each other in the arena. As the hero of this world, Helmios holds a special kind of importance for the majority of the people. The Demon Lord has killed several thousand people, and the inevitable end of life itself looms over every single person. But Helmios is basically a symbol of hope and the greatest savior sent by the gods themselves. In fact, Helmios first took the battlefield at the age of 15, and now, at the age of 24, the hero is still trying to keep the Demon Lord's army at bay. Going against someone like Helmios would make anyone else quite nervous, but Alan is ready to wipe the smirk off from that hero's smug face. Helmion believes that this battle will surely make Alan quite popular, even if he does end up losing in the end. However, Alan doesn't care for popularity. He simply wants to defeat Helmios and prove his worth. The fight finally begins and Helmios charges towards Alan with his sword raised. Normally this attack would have subdued any opponent, but the entire arena is surprised to witness Alan withstanding Helmios' lethal strike. The hero has no idea that Alan is being secretly buffed by his summons, but this fact remains a secret. Helmios then continues to push forward with sword, hoping to land a strike, but Alan continues to dodge the attack. Since their strength and agility appears to be equally matched, Alan summons Drago to assist him in the fight. The massive dragon appears in the arena and almost bites off Helmios' arm. However, as the hero jumps back from the attack, Alan uses the opportunity to attack him. The entire arena erupts with awe and excitement at the sight of the dragon. Helmios is also starting to understand that Alan's skills might not be as pathetic as he thought. Meanwhile, the crowd is going into a frenzy because of the dragon, so the announcer informs everyone that the dragon is just part of Alan's summon skill and not actually a vicious monster. The match continues and Alan orders his dragon to use his awakened skill to burn down Helmios. The crowd starts getting worried because their hero is getting burned alive, but Helmios emerges from the flames and flies into the air with barely a scratch on him. He then uses his special skill to heal his wounds and restore his stamina. Alan is impressed by the number of skills Helmios can use, but victory is still in his hands. Now that there's distance between the two opponents, Alan makes use of another one of his summons to trap Helmios and blast him with fire from all sides. Once again, everyone believes that their precious hero is done for, but there's still a lot of fight left in Helmios. However, just as things are looking good, Alan hits Helmios with another explosive attack. At this point, the people want Alan to just stop making a joke out of their hero. While the crowd becomes more and more chaotic, Alan is just glad that his Hell Mode ability turned out to be so powerful. Now he can summon his monsters and use their skills without wasting a single second. Although this strength requires a lot of energy as well, as long as he is careful, Alan believes he is unstoppable. Helmios then shoots out of the flames and attacks Alan one more time. However, Alan summons a giant three-headed Cerberus and orders it to viciously bite Helmios. As the hero dodges the attack, he jumps into the air and attacks the Cerberus. At the same time, the dragon unleashes a fiery breath to slow down Helmios, but the hero uses his sword to violently push back Alan. Going against a summoner is an interesting experience for Helmios, but now he wants the fight to end, so he engulfs his sword in flames and walks towards Alan. This is the hero skill Alan has been waiting for. He anxiously watches as Helmios summons a phoenix flame that completely obliterates the dragon and Cerberus before the attack can take him out. Alan quickly summons his knight to shield himself from Helmios' flame blade. He then activates the knight's reflectability to deliver the attack back to Helmios in full force. The hero is sent flying across the arena after taking the massive hit, but instead of getting angry, Helmios actually appears quite pleased. After fighting with Alan, Helmios now believes that there really is hope in this world after all. Helmios has been fighting the Demon King for a long time. He has seen countless lives being lost and new soldiers taking their place. Somewhere along the line, Helmios started to waver, and he no longer believed that the world could be saved. The Sovereign of Spirits then gave Helmios a special ring meant for the person who would restore his hope. Now, after confronting Alan, the hero is sure that the ring must be given to Alan. However, Helmios wants to test Alan once last time, so he makes use of his special, extra skill known as the Holy Sword. Surrounded by his own knights, Alan anxiously watches Helmios in his special state. The hero flies towards Alan and slams his sword down, destroying all of the summons in the area. Alan can barely hold on as Helmios pushes the sword forward, and in the end, the summoner fails to withstand the attack. Alan gets pushed back towards the wall. Both of his arms have been cut off and are bleeding. Despite having strong elvish healing magic on his side, Alan can't believe that Helmios managed to defeat him. Instead of just giving up, Alan is ready to challenge Helmios once more. He is not willing to back down as long as Helmios is in possession of the ring. Seeing Alan's bold resolve as the summoner of the beginning makes Helmios sure that this boy is worthy to receive the ring. Without any hesitation, Helmios gives Alan the ring he has been looking for. He also reveals that the Sovereign made an additional ring, which the hero gets to keep. Now that Alan has the ring, he is no longer interested in the battle, so he surrenders in front of everyone and Helmios is declared the victor. Once the exhibition matches are over, the Prince in Vel holds a ceremony where he praises Alan for his entertaining battle. However, the prince also finds it suspicious that the Granvelle family kept Alan's powers a secret for such a long time. Alan then reveals a special blade with the Granvelle family crest on it. He reveals to Prince in Vel that he owes the family a huge debt and will be serving as their loyal bodyguard no matter what. A few months go by and Alan and his friends have grown stronger. They go on dungeon raids together and find all manner of useful and powerful treasures. After completing 5 rank dungeons, the entire group is given an upgrade and now they can start clearing S-rank dungeons. However, this plan is quickly derailed when Alan and the others receive some bad news. The headmaster informs the students that they will have been summoned to join the war effort. Meanwhile, Sophialon, Volmar and Meraru have been ordered to head back to their respective kingdoms. Apparently, the Demon Lord has amassed an army of 10 million monsters, and they are targeting the Rosenheim and Bakis empires. Hearing this makes Sophialon quite worried because her mother is the queen of the Rosenheim Empire. The headmaster is saddened to reveal that the whereabouts of the queen are currently unknown after the monsters took over half of the empire. With the demon army waiting on the front line and most of the healers off to help out the Rosenheim Empire, things are looking grim. Plus, some of the empires don't even know about the Demon Lord and his army, so the students have to make an important decision and figure out which areas to help out. However, Alan has already decided that he will be heading over to the Rosenheim Empire. Alan's decision to save the Rosenheim Empire comes as a shock to his friends, but he has a valid reason for choosing such a drastic plan. Alan explains that it took the Demon Lord several years to amass 10 million troops, but even with this large, intimidating army, the Demon Lord cannot take over the Rosenheim, Balkis, and Central Empires. This is why Alan believes that the Demon Lord wishes to put pressure on the Rosenheim Empire by sending 3 million of his troops to the Elvish Kingdom. This attack will force the Elvish healers in the Central Continent to go back to their homeland, allowing the Demon Lord to launch another attack on the Middle Territory. And then finally, the Balkis Empire will be the last area to be invaded by the troops. Additionally, since the elves have abandoned the Central Continent, this move is seen as a violation of the alliance between the three empires. The Demon Lord is clearly trying to create discord and mistrust between the three empires. If the humans, elves, and dwarves cannot work together, it will be easier for the Demon Lord to gain a swift victory. This is why Alan wants to help the Rosenheim Empire before things become too dire, and the rest of the empires are also forced to act. However, Keel reminds Alan that the Central Empire still has to deal with 2 million monsters with no elven healers present. Fortunately, Alan prepared for this eventuality as well. He uses his powers to summon a recovery elixir that can heal every single person within a 50-meter radius. This means that even just a handful of these small elixirs can heal an entire army in no time, and Alan has about 600,000 of these elixirs in his inventory, so he wishes to distribute them amongst the three empires, giving the soldiers a fighting chance in the face of calamity. Theodosier has a hard time believing that Alan can use his powers to summon such a powerful elixir. However, Alan wishes to keep the source of the elixirs a secret, so he lies and informs everyone that the elixir was actually created by elves in the Rosenheim Empire, in order to make sure that Alan's cover is not blown. Sophie also chimes in and assures the headmaster that the elves have been mass-producing these elixirs and wish to send them to the rest of the empires as aid. Before they depart on their mission, Alan gives Meraru 10,000 of the elven elixirs so that she can help out her fellow dwarves during battle. For now, the friends must put aside their carefree days and help out with the war effort. Later on, both Keel and Cecil say their final farewells to their families. Alan apologizes to his friends because he believes that the king specifically called on them to participate in the war because he holds a grudge against Alan. However, everyone already knew that Alan would be roped into the battle against the Demon Lord one way or another. The following day, Alan orders some of his summons to gather more intel on the Demon Lord's army. He sends out multiple dragons and Ellie spirits for this important task. After taking care of this matter, Alan rejoins his friends and together they embark on a 4-day journey towards the Rosenheim Empire. Sophie explains that the Elvish Kingdom is a peaceful land with a giant world tree growing in the middle. However, some elves can be racist towards human beings, so it would be best for everyone to keep a low profile. For now, the group will be arriving in the sleepy port town of Nest, where the Demon Lord's army has yet to attack. Sophie is immediately ordered by the guards to meet with the Council of Elders. While heading to their destination, Alan and the others are horrified to witness the large number of injured refugees. Krina asks Alan to use his elixirs to help these poor people, but time is of the essence, so everyone decides to split into 2 groups. Krina and the others will help distribute the elixirs, while Alan, Valmar, and Sophie will meet with the council. The Elvish Council of Elders are glad to see Sophie, but they are more surprised by Alan's presence, especially since he is a human. Sophie is informed that her mother is stuck in the city of Tiamo, and the council lost all contact with her a few days ago. Things are looking dire and Sophie's resolve is starting to waver. But then Alan speaks up and assures everyone that the worst can be avoided if his plan is followed. Sophie introduces Alan as the savior of the Rosenheim Empire to the elders. An elf named Luckdrawl then invites Alan to join the war council. However, Alan notices that the elf is missing an arm and offers to give him the elixir. At first, Luckdrawl refuses, but Sophie forces him to use the elixir. In just a matter of seconds, Luckdrawl's severed arm is completely healed. Alan gets straight to the point and reveals his intention of distributing the elixir amongst the Elvish army. Luckdrawl is suspicious of this plan, and he refuses to believe that the elixir is actually Elvish in nature. However, when Sophie gives her command, he has no choice but to yield. Since Alan wishes to discuss more matters with the council, he leaves 2 of his summons to stay behind and act as his proxy. Now it is time for Alan to head over to Tiamo and make sure that the queen is safe. As they leave the council, the people of the small port city are surprised to see that Princess Sophie has returned. They urge her to leave the empire while the Demon Lord's army is still at bay. However, both Sophie and Alan instill new hope in everyone by showing their resolve and determination to fight no matter what, with Krina and the others also done with their task. The friends reunite and head off towards Tiamo. Alan makes use of his griffins to take the group directly towards the city at lightning speed. When Alan and the others arrive at Tiamo, they are relieved to see that the Demon Lord's army has not attacked the city yet. There is still time before the invasion, so Alan heads straight for the queen. Though cautious at first, the elvish guards are relieved to see Sopai and take the princess straight to her mother. The queen reunites with her daughter, even though chaos still looms over them. Alan then introduces himself as the prophesied savior and expresses his wish to help out the Elvish Empire. According to the guards, there are more than 100,000 wounded soldiers currently present. With no time to lose, Alan tells the guards to immediately distribute the recovery elixirs amongst their rank. Once again, the elves find this strange elixir quite suspicious, but Alan convinces them to follow his command. He even leaves behind Ellie to make sure that all the soldiers are healed on time. Meanwhile, Alan and his friends head out to confront the monsters lying in wait outside of the city. With the help of his various summons, Alan embarks on a complex plan where everyone has a part to play. Sophie and Keel are ordered to use their powers to create a magic shield over the group as they head into battle. Alan then orders Cecil to use her extra skill to summon a giant meteor that destroys 10,000 monsters in a singular, destructive strike. Keel and the others then dive onto the battlefield as well, taking out the monsters in hordes. Alan notices that there are healers present amongst the monstrous troops, so he uses his wall summons and Cecil's magic bullets to kill them instantly. Despite taking out a large number of monsters, there are still more on the way. So Alan regroups with everyone and formulates a new plan. With the elvish soldiers still being healed, Alan and his friends have no choice but to go all out and bring a decisive end to this fight.